Chapter 17:20. The 6 guards released their battle spirits. With one hand holding a shield and the other holding a sword, they glared at Li Fan, surrounding him in the center. These 6 people didn't put Li Fan in their eyes at all. They were true elites trained by Chong Wang and were used to being domineering in their fiefdoms. Now this little instructor actually dared to provoke them. He was truly courting death. "Tell me, how do you want to die?" The guard would step forward, sneer at Li Fan, as if he was looking at a dead man. "Do you want to have your arms cut off first, or your legs cut off first? The few of us are very easy to talk to. We'll let you choose for yourself. Do as you please." Li Fan said very naturally, "If you have the ability, why not take my head? Truly an ignorant fellow." The guard immediately jumped over. "Then I'll do as you wish." He waved the sword in his hand and directly slashed at the neck of Li Fan's battle spirit. But Li Fan did not retreat. Instead, he took a step forward. At the same time, he held the great spear with both hands and instantly pierced the guard's arm into his throat. With a poochie sound, the great spear pierced through the guard's neck. The guard's battle spirit slowly dissipated, turning into golden starlight that flew everywhere. Chong Wang's complexion suddenly turned ugly. The remaining 5 guards saw this and thought, "How can this be?" If Chong Wang became angry, they would definitely be finished. "Kill him." Captain was just too careless. The 5 guards immediately surrounded him. 2 of them raised their shields and charged at Li Fan according to their usual battle formation. The remaining 3 guards held their swords and followed. They were prepared to take advantage of the moment when Li Fan was knocked down by the shield to finish him off. However, Li Fan suddenly leaped into the air. He jumped more than 5 meters high and directly jumped over the 2 shield bearers. At the same time, Li Fan's body floated in the air. The great spear in his hand pierced through their helmets, piercing through their heads. Although a battle spirit's body could guarantee that it wouldn't die, if its vital points were broken, then it would be finished. Thus, after their heads were punctured, the 2 battle spirits also disappeared. Meanwhile, Li Fan had already landed in front of the remaining 3 guards. These guards were elites, after all. They put away their shock and brandished their swords, slashing at Li Fan together. Li Fan didn't care at all. He took a step back and dodged the 3 men's swords. At the same time, he took advantage of his length and strength to stab the great spear in his hand, piercing through the heart of another guard. Now, there were only 2 guards left in front of Li Fan. The 2 guards were somewhat apprehensive. They felt as though they couldn't do anything to Li Fan. This was Li Fan's strength. With his strength and skills, as long as he didn't encounter a Sky Immortal opponent, he was almost invincible. And the only Sky Immortal opponents were these feudal vassals. If they wanted to make things difficult for Li Fan, they had to let Prince Chong personally take action. "Don't make a fool of yourself. Come back." Prince Chong thought to himself, "I can't not have a single guard, right? 4 of them have lost the ability to fight, so I have to keep 2 by my side." The 2 guards had no choice but to retreat dejectedly. They put away their battle spirits and went back to protecting Prince Chong. "It seems that you still have some strength." Prince Chong couldn't personally attack Li Fan. After all, he was a feudal vassal. If he attacked a so-called general, he was afraid that it would lower his status. But he had to suppress his anger first. Prince Chong still had to think of a way to take the princess away. Even if you're powerful and can beat 6 guards, can you deal with thousands of soldiers and horses? Why not? Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, Qiu Shuang spoke first. "My teacher can defeat 10 Dragon Tiger cavalrymen alone. Lord Prince Chong, even you probably can't do it so easily, right? Defeat 10 Dragon Tiger cavalrymen alone? How is that possible?" Prince Chong didn't believe it at all. "All of us crown princes, including my uncle Prince Feng, have seen it with our own eyes. That's why my teacher was given the title of general. You're too ignorant to shout that he's just a coach." Qiu Shuang recounted Li Fan's achievements as though she was counting her family treasures. Instead, it made Li Fan feel embarrassed. Since when did Green Hill have such an expert? Prince Chong frowned and carefully sized up Li Fan. "Kid, where did you come from? What kind of background could I have?" Li Fan curled his lips. "I'm the same as these guards. We're all inferior immortals. Fortunately, I learned some of the humans' fighting skills during the battle with the humans. I didn't expect that after so many years, our warriors of Sky Beyond are still not improving and are still stuck in the same old ways. With such a standard, you want to invade the human world? That's a fool's dream. Li Fan's words made Prince Chong choke. Sky Beyond's cultivation technique is extremely powerful. We don't need to learn the lowly moves of mortals. Oh, your 6 incomparably powerful warriors were all defeated by my despicable moves. Li Fan mocked him instead. The people of Sky Beyond were too arrogant. If it wasn't because they had too many experts, countless inferior immortals, and terrifying cavalrymen like the Dragon Tiger cavalrymen. Above them, there were superior immortals and even 8 powerful sky immortals. Li Fan really didn't care about them. China's martial arts were basically so rotten that they had no combat power. Just relying on the strength of Li Family Island was not enough to fight against so many huge opponents. And Prince Chong was actually right. With just one person, it was impossible to stop thousands of enemies. Especially the 8 sky immortals, it was enough for Li Fan to have a hard time. What's more, there were 49 superior immortals. Although 1 year later, Sky Beyond would enter hibernation. Who knew, within this year, whether Sky Beyond would think of some way to attack the human world? The passionless pill had already been refined. As long as 2 sky immortals ate it and went down to the human world, he wouldn't be able to defeat them. What's more, there's a martial emperor who was cultivating in seclusion. Within 1 year, he would strive to make Sky Beyond restless. Moreover, he had to quickly enter the real core, contact the elders of Sky Beyond, and then proceed to the next step of his work. Sky Beyond. Don't forget, this place was full of his enemies. First, he had to get rid of this Prince Chong. Chuang-er, don't forget, your identity is my fiancé. You said it yourself, fiancé. The little princess winked her eyes slyly. Whether I can get married or not, I still don't know. However, please leave first. My fief doesn't welcome you now. Chapter 17:21. Prince Chong was chased out of the 3rd princess fief, but he didn't plan to leave just like that. Tell the Black Camp to get ready. Prince Chong said to his steward. Sir, the old steward was stunned when he heard Prince Chang's order. Do as I say. Prince Chang's voice revealed a kind of ruthlessness. Those who offend me can't live in this world, especially that Li Dazhuang. His existence will threaten my plan. 3rd Princess Qiu Shuang was his goal. He must not allow outsiders to touch her. As long as he could marry the 3rd princess, he could enter the royal family and be qualified to compete for the throne. The old emperor was about to abdicate, and the position of heavenly emperor was beckoning to him. Therefore, he must marry the 3rd princess. And the Black Camp was the elite of the elite that he trained. Their combat power was many times higher than his own guards. In fact, Li Dazhuang was right. Although humans were lowly, their martial arts were excellent. The most basic fighting method of Heavenly Emperor was the battle spirit, or the release spirit creature. But the real fighting technique was the avatar. In the past, Heavenly Emperor only had the powerful avatar. Whether it was strength, speed, or physique, they were far superior to humans. But they didn't have the ingenious fighting method of humans, especially when humans taught their descendants all kinds of fighting techniques, making them incomparably powerful. Then they ruthlessly defeated Heavenly Emperor and chased them to this small place. Heavenly Emperor. They weren't called Heavenly Emperor. They should be in the universe. They had the most sacred, the greatest name. Primordial Protoss. Every primordial Protoss had a powerful avatar. The avatar of an exalted immortal was 4 meters tall, and the avatar of a celestial immortal was 10 meters tall. As for the powerful, mysterious, revered Lord Immortal Venerable, he had a body that was almost 100 meters tall. The primordial Protoss originally lived on a distant planet that was rich in resources and products. Relying on their powerful avatar, the primordial Protoss swept through the other civilizations in the surrounding galaxies and colonized several galaxies. But it seemed that because they were too powerful, the primordial Protoss finally suffered from an incurable disease. They couldn't reproduce. They could only intermarry with other races and reproduce. Therefore, the primordial Protoss were divided into two factions. One faction believed that they should maintain a pure bloodline and remain at the top forever. The other faction felt that there should be interracial marriages so that the primordial gods could continue to reproduce. The purebloods and the mixed bloods began to fight. The mixed bloods had the advantage in numbers, so they eventually won and slowly drove the purebloods out. The immortal sovereign was a big shot among the purebloods. He had no choice but to take his purebloods away from the planet and come to the distant Earth. However, he did not expect that even he would not be able to maintain his pure blood. When he fell into a deep sleep, his people went against his original intention and began to intermarry with the people on Earth. Just like what Hua once said, love was a virus. This virus could destroy the primordial celestial race and even exterminate them. Primordial god race, King Chong made up his mind. He had to make this name shine again in the solar system. The Black Camp that he had secretly trained was to realize this ambition. No one knew that the troops in the Black Camp were actually mixed-blood descendants of the Protoss. But Prince Chong had used a special method to control their minds. In other words, they were just Prince Chang's puppets. This was where Prince Chong felt that he was wise. The Elders Guild's scope was too small. Why do they want to exterminate the human race? They should be raised like livestock. Turn them into procreation machines for the Protoss. Cultivate generations after generations of mixed-blood Protoss, and then control their minds, turning them into warriors who did not know pain, weakness, and betrayal. The true primordial Protoss only needed to stand high above and watch these dregs fight. That would be enough. How many people should we send? The butler asked. We don't need too many people to deal with a small instructor. Prince Chong said, send a team of 10. All right. The butler nodded and then left the room. At this time, they were stationed in Rain City next to the Princess Fief. The king here had a good relationship with Prince Chong, and they were in an alliance. When Prince Chong came, he naturally brought some of his special forces with him, so he did not have to worry about leaks. The butler went all the way to the basement, passed through a dark corridor, and came to the depths of the basement. There were rows of cells here, and in each cell, there were 10 warriors wrapped in black clothes. These warriors had a special black crystal pillar as thick as a finger inserted in their foreheads, used to control their minds. When a housekeeper approached them, they immediately growled like wild beasts. Quiet down, it's time to work. The butler shouted, and these people quieted down. They stood there blankly like statues. Third team, come out. The butler opened the cell door, and 10 warriors wrapped in black leather armor walked out. Because these 10 warriors were mixed blood, each of them was 2.5 meters tall, and their physical fitness and strength far exceeded that of humans. Moreover, as a special force trained by Prince Chong, they also learned the martial arts of humans on Earth. On their waists, there was an extended version of a katana. Your mission is to kill this person. The butler took out the portrait of Li Fan and showed it to them. At the same time, he took out the portrait of the princess. Then, you have to attack this person, and then the Lord will defeat you and rescue her. Do you understand? Roar. The 10 black-armored warriors growled in unison. At this time, Li Fan had just finished his dinner and was standing in his room practicing. But there was a knock on the door outside, so he had to temporarily stop practicing. Who's outside? General Li. The princess invites you to go for a talk. It was the servant's voice outside the door. Li Fan muttered. It was so late. Why was the princess looking for him? Fortunately, last time he told her not to sneak into his room again. Otherwise, it would not be the servant knocking on the door, but the princess climbing in. General Li? Hearing that there was no sound inside for a long time, the servant asked again. Got it, I'm coming. How could Li Fan refuse the princess's summon? He had to tidy up his clothes, then went downstairs, opened the door, and went to the small building where the princess lived. The princess's fief was not large, and her mansion was right in the middle of the fief. The courtyard of this mansion was also full of flowers and plants, as if integrated with nature, which made Li Fan very comfortable. Chapter 1722. Princess summoning me in the middle of the night. She must be hiding something. Bah, it seems a bit unlucky for me to do this. After all, she is a princess, a pure young lady. She definitely wouldn't be tainted by some thirsty young married woman's thoughts. Li Fan couldn't help but imagine the princess lying on the bed, wearing a thin gauze dress and beckoning him with her finger. Damn, it does seem a bit seductive. Li Fan quickly sorted out his emotions. The little princess is very pure, like a piece of white paper. How can I casually taint her? Li Fan, you're starting to let your imagination run wild again. Don't forget that your purpose of coming to Heaven's Beyond is to destroy Heaven's Beyond, not to find a partner. Li Fan warned himself several times, and only then did he drive those messy thoughts out of his head. To actually fantasize about my Princess Royal Highness, it's really unforgivable. Everyone's position is different. It's better not to let my imagination run wild. After Li Fan cleared his thoughts, he came to the door of the princess's chamber. It seemed like she was waiting for Li Fan. The princess's door was open. Even though he was far away, Li Fan could still faintly smell the fragrance of a young lady coming from the room. What's wrong with me? Could it be that as my body strengthened, my sense of smell also became stronger? Before Li Fan could figure it out, the old butler who was guarding the door gave Li Fan a look. Please come in. Her Highness is waiting for you. There was a hint of threat in the old man's eyes. It seemed like he was telling Li Fan, if you dare to mess around, I'll chop off your dick and send you to the expeditionary army. Li Fan was also very helpless. He wasn't the one who wanted to come. He was obviously called over by the princess. Li Fan ignored the old man, who seemed to have a bit of hidden bitterness, and stepped into the small building. After entering, the fragrance of the young lady seemed to be even stronger. The fragrance of a young lady was different from that of a mature lady. In this aspect, Li Fan could be considered an experienced driver. Teacher, are you here? The sound of a young girl's voice could be heard from within the room. There was a hint of anticipation, a hint of joy, and a hint of indescribable shyness. What was she doing? She wasn't getting married. He's here. What would Li Fan say? He couldn't just enter the room and say, Third princess, calm down first, and let's have a pure teacher-student exchange. Teacher. Just as Li Fan was lost in thought, a beautiful little girl, as if she had walked out of a painting, charmingly stood in front of him. At this time, the third princess was wearing a beautiful little dress. Her skirt went past her knees, and her legs were covered with white stockings. She looked like a cute Lolita. Teacher, is it nice? Jun Wuxia spun around in front of Li Fan. It said that it's the clothes of people from the mortal world. What do you think? It suits you. Li Fan could not help but comment that it was indeed quite suitable for this little princess. She was originally that kind of pure little girl. Now that she changed into this standard Lolita attire, it brought out her characteristics even more, especially that pair of white stockings. How should he put it? The stockings were the tallest. Hee, I knew that you would definitely be satisfied. Qiu Shuang could not help but smile proudly. In the future, when I go to the mortal world, I will wear this every day for you to see. And Li Fan did not know what to say. It was just that this day would probably never come. Even if he had to risk his life, he would stop it. Teacher, after we conquer the mortal world, you will definitely be promoted. You are already a great general now. If you're promoted, you will definitely be more powerful than Prince Chong. Oh, maybe. Why did you suddenly mention this? Li Fan felt a little puzzled. He did not know why Qiu Shuang suddenly mentioned this. If that's the case, at that time, Qiu Shuang's little face blushed again. The redness flew up her cheeks all the way to her ears. What's wrong? Li Fan looked at Qiu Shuang. He did not know what she wanted to say. That is, at that time, can I do what? Can I propose to Imperial Father? Propose. Li Fan was a little shocked. But I do not want to marry your sister. Although I was promoted by Princess Royal, she is like a leader in my heart. I do not have any second thoughts. I did not mean that. Qiu Shuang was a little anxious. She lightly stomped her little feet. That black leather shoes stepped on the ground, making a pitter-patter sound. Then what do you mean? Li Fan was even more puzzled. I have no feelings for second princess. She even wanted to kill me a while ago. What? Imperial sister is actually so overboard. Ah, then did you get hurt? No. How could she hurt me? Li Fan laughed. With second princess's level, how could she hurt me? That's good. Qiao Shuang heaved a sigh of relief. Aya, you're grasping the wrong point again. What I mean is, can you? Li Fan suddenly felt his anus tighten. Could it be? Eldest prince has homosexual tendencies? Li Fan thought that with eldest prince's manly character, it should not be possible. Could it be the second prince? No. Teacher. Qiao Shuang clenched her teeth. Are you doing this on purpose? Doing what on purpose? Li Fan had been thinking about how to mess up heavens beyond for the past 2 days. He really did not have any other thoughts in his mind. Just at this moment, he was still thinking about when he should make a trip to the immortal emperor's tomb. But there must be a reason to make a trip. He was now the princess coach. That did not seem to be a good excuse. Intentionally ignoring me. Princess Royal Highness almost swallowed her words back to her stomach. Princess Royal Highness. Li Fan immediately understood. It was as if he had a sudden realization. How could he forget that third princess still had some feelings for him? Messed up. His mind was indeed messed up these past 2 days. Li Fan said that it was better to get the pain over with than to prolong it. Might as well get straight to the point. Thinking of this, Li Fan knelt down with a thud. He cupped his fists and said to third princess, Princess Royal Highness, you are the crown prince. I'm just a commoner. How would I dare to have such improper thoughts towards you? Qiao Shuang had already thought of 100 answers for Li Fan. This was also one of them. She immediately said, What noble and lowly. I have never talked about this. Furthermore, teacher, you are the hero of this generation. Even my 2 brothers are not as good as you. How can you belittle yourself? Li Fan thought to himself, You're right, but it's better if we just keep it to ourselves. Don't say it out loud. Third princess, you might just be curious about me for a while. After a while, when this novelty wears off, you will naturally not be interested in me anymore. Chapter 17:23. The third princess confessed to him in the middle of the night. Li Fan's heart sank, and he directly knelt down to refuse. He came up with some excuses to refuse, but Qiao Shuang spoke eloquently. What is new? Although I am young, I already have a certain understanding of love. In all these years, you're the only one who's ever made my heart beat faster. Thinking of saying such bold words, the third princess couldn't help but blush. But she also faintly felt that tonight was a crucial night. If she didn't seize the opportunity to win the teacher's heart, she was afraid that she wouldn't have a chance in the future. Talking about marriage isn't something that can be decided in a day or night. Li Fan was like a big brother, trying to bring the beautiful little princess Qiao Shuang back to the right path of life. Li Fan wanted kowtow to himself. Who would believe that he was not great with such sentiments? The third princess was indeed very likable, but so what? Could he just take off his pants and do it? In this case, Li Fan not only felt sorry for those girls who really loved him, but also for the third princess and himself. Enemies, they were enemies. You can't fall in love with enemies. Li Fan had suffered from this many times. Liang Ru and Yang Wanru were all living examples. The one-night dragon night with the wild dragon girl was another matter. Everyone was out to pursue excitement and take what they needed. He didn't want a long time, just a day and a night. And the little princess's feelings for him obviously meant that she wanted to follow him to the ends of the world. If he laid his hands on her, he would really be a beast. No, he would be worse than a beast. Li Fan repeatedly warned himself that he must never fall into the little princess's gentle trap. We can slowly get to know each other. A year's time is enough for us to get to know each other better. The little princess said confidently. With her charm, she would definitely be able to control the teacher in a year. Teacher, teacher, you can't escape from my palm. No, Your Highness, you can't force me against my will. Li Fan made up his mind and said, I already have someone I like. I just want to be with her for a long time. Well, what? Xiao Shuang really didn't expect such an answer. She believed in her charm. General Li was a young hero, so he would definitely like her. You lie, Xiao Shuang suddenly shouted. The little princess was a reasonable person, but now she was a little spoiled. You're lying. I'm not lying. It's the truth. No, you are lying. If you don't like me, why were you so nervous in front of Prince Chong that day? I'm just protecting the princess. Li Fan immediately explained. It's just respect. I don't have any other intentions. This is called respect? That's right. I can tell that you don't like Prince Chong. Therefore, I ruthlessly defeated Prince Chong so that he would retreat in the face of difficulties and never pester the princess again. How do you know that I don't like Prince Chong? Since you don't like me, what right do you have to decide for me? Xiao Shuang, on the other hand, was really angry. Her eyes were already wet and misty, which made Li Fan's heart ache. A short pain is better than a long one. A short pain is better than a long one. Your Highness, leave. I don't want to talk to you. All right. When Li Fan heard that, he turned and left without hesitation. Come back. Xiao Shuang immediately regretted it. She felt that once Li Fan left, he really wouldn't be coming back. Don't leave. Stop. However, Li Fan did not stop. He lifted his leg and walked out at lightning speed. Soon, he was out of the princess's house. Come back. Come back. Behind him, he could still hear the princess shouting anxiously. But Xiao Shuang could only cry. She didn't dare to stop Li Fan. Xiao Shuang didn't dare to do so. This was probably the only bit of restraint that she had as the princess and the heir to the throne. Li Fan didn't dare to hesitate. He walked faster and faster. In the end, he quickly left the princess's courtyard and returned to his own room. He entered the room and locked the doors and windows. He sat down on the red wooden bench. His heart was beating fast, and he couldn't bear it. It was rare for the little princess to express her feelings. But they were still enemies, and they couldn't be together. Damn it. Reality was reality. It was different from novels. He really envied those male protagonists in novels. They fucked wherever they went. They were completely unreasonable and only relied on their dick to speak. Little princess, don't blame me. I'm doing this for your own good. Li Fan didn't have any regrets after making such a decision. He calmed his mind and continued to take the cultivation posture. He let the inner force start to circulate in his body. He tried his best to keep his mind focused and not think about those messy things. The red vermilion bird flew out and landed on Li Fan's shoulder. It gently rubbed against Li Fan's face as though it was feeling sorry for him. In Li Fan's inner world, he was standing on the sea of consciousness. Beneath his feet was the 9-leaf lotus flower. He was floating on the boundless sea. Li Fan had already cultivated the 9-dragon mantra to the acme of perfection. He had entered the state of reversing yin and yang. In his heart, there was no such thing as a demon god or a god of war. All of them no longer existed. There was only himself. A flame slowly condensed in the void. A beautiful woman's figure walked out of the flame and stood in front of Li Fan. Li Fan seemed to be awakened from a deep sleep. He opened his eyes and looked at the woman in front of him. He was pleasantly surprised. Weining, you've suffered. Yang Weining stood in front of Li Fan. She gently stretched out her hand and caressed Li Fan's cheek. Rejecting such a beautiful girl, your heart must be aching, right? Look at you. What kind of person do you think I am? A lolicon or a sex fiend? Li Fan smiled. Yang Weining could now communicate with him in her heart. This was a good thing. It meant that her strength was slowly recovering. Such a beautiful girl. Let alone you. Even I can't help but be moved. Yang Weining said, You are not a lolicon, nor a sex fiend, but you are a normal man. You will have your own thoughts. Are you here to comfort me or to make me unhappy? Li Fan smiled bitterly. I just want to advise you. When a flower blooms, you should be plucked. Don't wait until there are no flowers. How can that be? The two of us are natural enemies. I am a human, and she is a god. We are mortal enemies. You know that. But this kind of love is beautiful. Yang Weining was a pure believer in love. Why do you care so much? Just love first. No, the mistake I made with you, I will never do it to another woman. Li Fan, on the other hand, had a heart of stone. Moreover, I'm content to have you by my side. I don't have any other thoughts. Don't worry. I will quickly adjust myself and continue with the plan to destroy heavens beyond. Chapter 17:24. Li Fan loved to watch 007 when he was young. The one he envied the most was James Bond. This playboy from England. No, he was a super secret agent. He was the role model in the hearts of men. Every episode, every mission, he would get to know a beautiful Bond girl. Doing missions did not affect his sleep. He was a winner in life. Later on, when universal values were promoted, 007 no longer had such treatment. He finally had a woman that he loved wholeheartedly. However, he didn't know if it was due to the cycle of karma, retribution, or the resentment of the male and female audience. But the woman that he was supposed to marry died in the end. The original playboy had become the male lead in a sad romance movie. This man's role model also served as a reminder to Li Fan. Messing around would not end well. Third Princess Xiao Shuang was a typical aristocratic representative of Sky Beyond Avalon. Although she was pure, she had a deep hatred for humans. Speaking of which, it was hard to tell if this was a comedy or a tragedy. If the people of Sky Beyond Avalon had followed the path of the celestial supremacy from the start, then all the disasters would not have happened. They might have already destroyed humans and become the rulers of this planet. Unfortunately, history would not repeat itself. However, the current Sky Beyond Avalon wanted to correct their past mistakes and not have any feelings for humans. So what if he agreed to the third princess? Once she found out that he was a human, would she continue to be with him? She would probably raise her sharp sword in the next second. Revenge for killing his mother. Absolutely irreconcilable. Yang Weining had followed Li Fan for quite some time. She slowly understood what kind of person Li Fan was and what kind of personality he had. Li Fan looked gentle, but he was actually very stubborn. Once he decided on something, he would never change his mind, let alone listen to others' advice. What a stubborn donkey. Li Fan was cultivating when he suddenly felt a strong aura coming from a certain direction. In the east, it was the tomb of the celestial supremacy. Moreover, this aura was very familiar. It was the aura of a martial emperor. Have you really broken through the shackles of a lower mortal? Li Fan could not help but admire him. The human body had its limits. Yang Weining had once mentioned this to him. For humans like them, even if they broke through the limits of their bodies, it would still be much more strenuous for them to cultivate the true immortal arts or their own yin and yang reversal techniques, compared to the primordial divine race who were blessed by the heavens and possessed special constitutions. Cultivating to the level of an immortal slave was a boundary. Cultivating to the level of an inferior immortal was also a boundary. After them were the ascendant immortals, the heavenly immortals, and most powerful of them all, the immortal sovereigns. Every boundary was an insurmountable chasm. Even if it was Li Fan, who had cultivated to this point and mastered the invincible Vajrabadi, there was no way for him to quickly break through the boundary of a lower immortal. At the beginning of Li Bai's The Road to Shu is hard, he lamented. The Shu Dao was difficult, more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Breaking through the boundary was the same feeling for the martial practitioners, or even more exaggerated. In the past few days, Li Fan had been trying to quickly break through this boundary and proceed to the next stage of cultivation. However, even if he used the treasure pearl, there was no way for Li Fan to break through this boundary. That martial monarch must have a better way. Li Fan knew that in terms of talent, he should be on par with the martial emperor. Since he could cultivate so quickly, he must have some special method. Li Fan could not help but think of the immortal's tomb that the second prince mentioned. Perhaps that place was the real treasured place for cultivation. It seemed like he had to think of a way to go there. Coincidentally, the princess was not herself recently, so he made an excuse to go to the tomb to cultivate. He had the key, so it should not be a problem. Teacher, you want to go to the immortal's tomb? The next day, Xiaonan was shocked when he heard Li Fan's request. Yes, the two of you are slowly getting on the right track. As long as you continue to practice, you will improve. Li Fan nodded. However, I feel that my strength has improved a little today, so I want to train. When I become stronger, I will return to the two princes' side. I don't think it's a good idea. Xiaonan was about to stop him when Xiao Shuang pulled him back. Then, she looked at Li Fan emotionlessly as if she was looking at a stranger. Since you want to leave, then leave. I don't want to leave, Goodbye. Xiao Shuang stood up, turned around, and walked away. She was just trying to hold back her tears. The moment she turned around, her tears flowed down uncontrollably. Am I really that annoying to him? Li Fan was a little upset, but no matter what, he finally got permission to leave. After all, he was now the third princess's man. He could not leave the third princess's fief so easily. Li Fan rode on the ruby and left Xiao Shuang's fief. He left a trail of dust and headed towards the direction of the tomb. On the city wall in front of the fief, Xiaonan looked at his sister who was standing beside him and staring into the distance. He could not help but ask, "Just let him go like this, okay? He is the same as the ruby. We can't tie him down." Xiao Shuang murmured, "Since we can't tie him down, we might as well let him go." "How can you do that? If you like him, then let him stay. You are the third princess. The world around me is too small. It can't contain him." Xiao Shuang's eyes were a little dazed. What he yearns for should be a bigger world. "I don't understand." Xiaonan did not understand. "If you like him, then get him. What's wrong with that?" Just as Li Fan was leaving on his horse, someone had already discovered his tracks. This brat, actually left the fief himself. Just nice. After Prince Chang received the news, he laughed coldly. "Which direction did he go?" "It should be the tomb." His underling reported. "Our informant received news that he is going to the immortal emperor's tomb to cultivate. This brat is really lucky. He actually has the key to the tomb, but when he dies, it will belong to me. The key, the princess, and the throne, they will all be mine." Prince Chang almost shouted. His underling, according to his instructions, was blocking Li Fan's path. At this moment, Li Fan had already whipped his horse and arrived in front of checkpoint. In front of him was a city wall that was about a few hundred meters long and 10 meters tall. It was on the opposite river and was named the Wall of King's Way, because behind this wall was the direction to the immortal emperor's tomb in the imperial city. Li Fan rode on the ruby, pulled the reins, and stopped in front of the gate of the checkpoint. Two soldiers picked up their spears and blocked his way. Chapter 1725. Stop right there. Two soldiers raised their swords and pointed them at Li Fan. Dismount. When passing through the checkpoint, unless one was a soldier with a military seal, everyone had to dismount and stand trial. Li Fan didn't want to expose his identity here, so he jumped off the horse and pointed at the royal guard seal on his shoulder. "This is my identity. Royal Guard?" The two soldiers were shocked. They put down their swords and saluted Li Fan. The royal guard seal couldn't be faked. It was a symbol of status bestowed by the crown prince himself. Moreover, from the insignia on the seal, this should be the guards of Princess Qiuya. That's not right. This red horse seems to be Crown Prince Qiuyu's mount. I heard that he had already given it to Great General Li Dazhuang, who is currently in the limelight. "Greetings, General Li." The two guards weren't idiots and immediately recognized him. Thank you for your hard work. Where is the general going?" The guard asked as usual. "I'm going to train in the tomb according to the crown prince's orders." Li Fan took out the key to the tomb. The second prince told him that no matter where he went, as long as he took out the key and said he was going to the tomb, no one would stop him. Indeed, after seeing the key, the two guards looked at him enviously. "I see. Then, General, please pass." The two guards typed the code, and the gate slowly lowered, allowing Li Fan to pass. Li Fan held onto his ruby and walked into the checkpoint. Because of his identity as a royal guard, the surrounding guards saluted him. Inside the checkpoint was a small military camp. The guards were responsible for the safety of the checkpoint. Li Fan replenished his food and water and prepared to continue his journey. At this moment, a team of 10 guards walked over and stopped in front of Li Fan. They saluted him. "General Li, you are?" "We are the guards of the king's wall. We heard that the general is going to the immortal tomb, so we are here to escort you." No need. I can go by myself. Li Fan waved his hand and prepared to leave. However, the Decurion clearly didn't intend to let Li Fan go just like that. He immediately grabbed Li Fan's reins and begged sincerely. General, this is the rule of our sky beyond Avalon since ancient times. It's a rule imposed by the higher-ups. Please don't make things difficult for us. Li Fan was someone who could be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. With the Decurion begging like this, Li Fan was a little embarrassed to refuse. All right, then I'll have to trouble you all. That's great. Thank you. The Decurion heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the mission is completed, everything will be fine. Thank you. You're welcome. Can we go now? All right. Brothers, protect generally well. If anything goes wrong, be careful of your head. Yes. These 10 people escorted Li Fan all the way out of the pass and headed outside. Outside the pass was a long river. Following this river, one would be able to reach the location of the immortal Venerable's tomb. Where are you escorting me to? The 10 people followed Li Fan for at least 3 kilometers, but they didn't seem to have any intention of leaving. There were fewer and fewer people around. All that was left was a long official road. Who knew how long they would have to walk? There's still a long way to go, General. The Decurion chuckled, then slowly took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He took one out and held it in his hand. Do you want one? It's human stuff. Forget it. Li Fan thought to himself. The ordinary objects in the lower world are all rare goods here. This stuff is pretty good. It'd be a pity if you don't smoke it, General. The Decurion slowly put away his cigarette. Would a soulless person feel anything from smoking something like this? Li Fan suddenly asked. Oh, what do you mean by that, General? There's no need to hide it, is there? Li Fan chuckled. I may not be very smart, but I'm no fool. For no reason at all, an army came to escort me to the immortal graveyard. I've never heard of such a rule before. He looked at the people in front of him. You say you're escorting me, but I'm afraid you're going to send me to hell? General Li is truly clever. The look in the Decurion's eyes changed. It was no longer respectful, but vicious and cunning. These are the puppets that I control, including the body that you're talking to. I can use a secret art to enter their minds and talk to you personally. Lord Chang, if you want to chat, why don't we meet in person? Nonsense. I have nothing to do with Lord Chang. The Decurion's face twisted. Idiot, you know it's a trap, but you still came to die. Let me tell you, we're after the key in your hand. As the saying goes, treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for having something you shouldn't have. What a high-sounding reason. Li Fan shook his head. It doesn't matter if you don't want to admit it. But don't you think it's not enough to send these 3 cats to make trouble for me? Don't underestimate my black camp. Seeing that Li Fan was still so arrogant, Lord Chang was instantly enraged. In this world, only I could be arrogant. All those who are more arrogant than me must die. At this moment, he was looking at the young general through the eyes of the puppets, waiting for death to befall him. Friend, this place is picturesque. It's perfect for your grave. As the Decurion spoke, he waved his hand. The 9 soldiers behind him suddenly threw away their swords and drew new weapons from their robes. Katanas. You know some martial arts from Earth, don't you? The Decurion sneered. These puppets of mine are all experts in Earth's most exquisite martial arts. Die. As he spoke, one of the puppets had already raised his katana and slashed at Li Fan. Even Li Fan had to praise this person. This person's skill with the saber was very exquisite. He was like a master who had immersed himself in this art for many years. His saber technique was like a thunderbolt. In an instant, it arrived in front of Li Fan. But Li Fan gently moved his body to the side and casually dodged the saber technique. At the same time, he summoned his scarlet spear and stabbed it at the opponent. The other 2 sabermen stepped forward and raised their katanas at the same time. They actually blocked Li Fan's spear. At the same time, another 2 sabermen moved behind Li Fan. They raised their sabers and slashed at Li Fan's arms. These few people, what sharp saber skills, what tacit cooperation. Li Fan shook his arms. The great spear shook off the blades of the 2 sabermen in front of him. At the same time, he turned around and used total annihilation, sending the two swordsmen flying. Chapter 17:26. Although the swordsman's swordsmanship was sharp, it was not a problem for Li Fan. When he was on Earth, he had been through hundreds of battles. Although many people were not convinced, they still had to admit that he was the #1 martial artist in the world. So strong. Although Prince Chong was not happy, he still had to praise General Li's strength. No wonder the crown princes were fighting for his ownership. If this person was by his side, he would definitely become a powerful help. Since this kind of talent could not be used by me, and will also stop me from becoming emperor, I must kill him. Kill him. Quick! Prince Chong gave the order again. He controlled the puppet and moved together with the other 9 people. Holding the tachi, they rushed towards Li Fan. The 9 people using the quick saber was indeed very powerful. However, Li Fan was not in a hurry. He only held a long spear, stabbing and sweeping, and the 10 people did not even have a chance to get close to him. These were 10 mixed-blood descendants who had surpassed the inferior immortal level, and they actually could not do anything to him. Not only did they have powerful mixed-blood descendants, but they also learned martial arts from Earth. Their combat power should be off the charts. Could it be that this guy's martial arts were heaven-defying? A swordsman once again attacked Li Fan from the side, but Li Fan turned around and shot his spear, instantly shaking off the swordsman's tachi, and then the tip of the spear pierced his throat. However, this was not a battle spirit. The flesh of mixed-blood descendants was very strong. Even though his throat was pierced by Li Fan, he was still strong and alive. At the same time, he swept his saber towards Li Fan's neck. However, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and flicked 2 fingers on the back of the saber. With a bang, the tachi was bounced out of his hand and then caught by Li Fan. Without waiting for the other party to react, Li Fan raised the saber in his hand and chopped off his head. This guy was also very strong-willed. He did not even cry out in pain and died on the ground. Another 2 bladesmen jumped over from the sides, attacking Li Fan. However, Li Fan lowered his body and dodged the attacks of the 2 of them. Then he stabbed his spear into the ground, flipped his body, and kicked out with both legs, sending a swordsman who was about to sneak attack him flying. At the same time, when Li Fan landed, he held his katana with both hands, and with a beautiful slash, he split a swordsman into 2 from head to toe. Then, Li Fan grabbed the katana that he had dropped. Like a demon, he rushed into the crowd and waved his katana continuously. If he met a god, he would kill a god. And if he met a ghost, he would kill a ghost. These saber-wielders were being beaten back by him. Damn it. When Prince Chong saw this, he felt extremely indignant. He had so many death warriors, but they couldn't do anything to a royal guard. Consuming forbidden medicine. You must kill him. He gave the order, and the rest of his men took out a pill from their pockets and stuffed it into their mouths. Their bodies immediately flowed with a black glow, as if they were having an orgasm, all of them trembling. Following that, a powerful pressure was released from their bodies. Their bodies also swelled up. Each of them roared, raised their katanas again, and pounced towards Li Fan. The pressure they released now. Even Li Fan did not dare to fight them head-on. Bang! Li Fan dodged the attack of a bladesman. His katana slashed the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Thick smoke billowed, and a huge crack appeared under his blade. Fuck, these guys are actually close to the strength of an exalted immortal. This is a little abnormal. What kind of medicine did you guys take to be so awesome? Fortunately, their martial arts were still so clumsy. Even if it was the saber technique of Japan, it was not that good. Li Fan gathered a mouthful of internal energy and injected it into the 2 sabers, continuing to fight with the few bladesmen. However, he was already at a disadvantage and began to retreat. Haha, it's time for you to die. Prince Chong was overjoyed. He lifted his katana and launched a surprise attack from behind Li Fan, slashing at his neck. Just when he thought that he would succeed, his katana pierced the air. What he cut off was only the afterimage of Li Fan, while the real body appeared behind him. You're not qualified to kill me. Li Fan waved his 2 sabers and cut the head of Prince Chang's puppet into 4 pieces. Prince Chang's consciousness instantly retreated. He looked at the empty wall in front of him and smashed the cup in annoyance. Damn this guy. Why is he so difficult to deal with? Your Excellency, the Black Camp has been completely wiped out. His subordinate knelt in front of him and reported. Damn it. Prince Chang was very angry. He did not expect that General Li's combat strength was so superb. This man is too difficult to deal with. If he wins the princess's favor, it will also affect my plan. Your Excellency, the rest of the soldiers of the Black Camp are on standby. No, Prince Chang was not that stupid. If we use too many people of the Black Camp, I'm afraid the people above will notice. Let me think about it. Let Wu Xin do it. Okay, Wu Xin doesn't have the key. Let him stop the enemy in front of the tomb. It must be done. There must be no mistakes. Yes. At this time, Li Fan wiped the 2 katanas clean and then put them into his royal guard badge. The badge of the royal guard was like an independent small space. In addition to storing armor, it could also store weapons, which was one of its functions. These soldiers who sneaked up on him made Li Fan pay attention. Prince Chang actually had such an army. Each of them seemed to be a mixed descendant of the Protoss and the human race. Although the martial arts they learned were very clumsy, if there were more of them, it would be a very terrible force. Human realm beyond heaven. I still underestimated you. Li Fan raised his vigilance again. He took his ruby again, flipped over, rode on it, and continued on his way to the Immortal Sovereign's tomb. The Immortal Sovereign's tomb was located in the Acropolis. This city did not belong to any feudal lord, nor did it have a city lord. There were many experts in the Acropolis. Most of them were the tomb guards, all responsible for the safety of the tomb. Anyone who disrespected the tomb would be hunted down by them, including the royal family. Halt! In front of the city gate, Li Fan was stopped. Dismount and move forward. There was no prohibition in the Acropolis, but this was close to the tomb, so one must be respectful. Li Fan did not want to cause trouble, so he obediently dismounted and led the ruby into the city. Because it was close to the tomb, the Acropolis was particularly prosperous. Many people lived here or traveled here. After Li Fan entered the city, he finally felt like he was in a busy city. The surrounding streets were full of hawkers, passers-by, patrolling guards. Everything was a scene of prosperity. In the distance, Li Fan could already see the outline of the Immortal Sovereign's tomb. Along the street, looking into the distance, the first thing he saw was a huge stone statue, about 100 meters tall, like a sleeping giant, quietly guarding the tomb behind it. Chapter 17:27. Although he could enter the ancient tomb, the rubies could not. Li Fan could only find an inn and store his rubies there. Generally, larger inns would have specialized people to serve the Pegasus, so it would not be a problem to leave it to them. It was already late today. At this time, even if he wanted to enter the ancient tomb, he would not be able to. Li Fan found an inn closest to the ancient tomb and settled down. The inn's signboard was quite big, and the price should not be cheap, so there were not many people staying in the inn. When Li Fan entered, he felt that it was very quiet. Shopkeeper, give me a medium room. Li Fan had a lot of immortal crystal in his hands, but he did not want to waste it casually. Leaving some money in his pocket would give him some confidence. When Li Fan was checking in, a waiter had already stepped forward and led away Li Fan's horse. My horse is very precious. Take good care of it. Li Fan threw 20 spiritual crystal on the counter. The shopkeeper was filled with joy and said yes. Even if Li Fan did not give him so much money, he did not dare to neglect it. This kind of precious horse was obviously a precious horse of a big family. Who would dare to provoke such a famous family? Naturally, he would serve it carefully without any hesitation. Customer, do you want to eat? There's a restaurant upstairs. All right. Li Fan had been on the road for a day and was really a little hungry. Although the food in Sky Beyond was average, it had its own specialties. Under the guidance of a waiter, Li Fan went to the second floor. The renovation of the inn was quite good, and the restaurant on the second floor was also quite good. There were a total of 6 tables, and each of them was placed beside the window, allowing one to see the street outside. Although it was dinner time, there were not many guests, and there were still empty tables. Li Fan chose a table with a good view and sat down. Li Fan ordered some specialties and asked the waiter to heat up a pot of wine. His current appearance was no different from a primordial god from sky beyond. After all, Li Fan had lived in this place for a period of time. If he continued to hide, it was likely that no one would discover his true identity for thousands of years. Just as Li Fan was about to enjoy the fine wine and delicacies, a thin man suddenly walked over. He was dressed in a gray robe and wore a bamboo hat. His expression was somewhat gloomy as he directly sat on the table in front of Li Fan. It was common for people to share a table when eating at the sky beyond heaven, so Li Fan didn't say anything. "Waiter, give me a portion of his." The man pointed at Li Fan's dishes and said to the waiter. His voice was hoarse and sounded like it was being torn apart. His ears hurt just listening to it. "All right." The waiter immediately went to prepare the dishes for the guests. Li Fan just drank his own wine. However, at this moment, the man opposite him finally spoke. "Friend, isn't tasting wine like this boring? Drinking is drinking. What's so interesting about it?" Li Fan looked very calm. It was as if the other party's words did not affect him at all. Drinking is a form of enjoyment. According to the way you drink, what's the difference between drinking and drinking? The man continued. Then according to your opinion, how should I drink it? Li Fan seemed to be a little interested. The other party chuckled and took out an exquisite wine set. Ordinary people like to drink with jade cups. After all, there are more jades here. This wine set attracted Li Fan's attention. Wine dividers, small wine cups. Aren't these glassware produced on Earth? Looking at your gaze, you should recognize this kind of utensil. The other party was somewhat proud. That's right, this is a wine set from the lower realm. I am Wu Xin, from Wu country. I usually like to drink. This set of utensils is something that I spent a lot of effort to collect. If you like wine, why not have a cup with me? Sure. Li Fan did not decline. Coincidentally, the waiter brought the new September wine. Wu Xin took it and poured it into the wine divider, shook it twice, and then poured a small cup for each of them. When it comes to wine tasting, guzzling is one way to drink it, but tasting it carefully is another. Wu Xin held his own small wine cup, just this small cup, but the taste is all in it. With that, his right hand held the wine cup, his left hand supported his right hand, and he saluted Li Fan. Then he covered his mouth with his sleeve and slowly poured the wine into his mouth. Unfortunately, the September wine is only an ordinary wine. If it was Maodai or grape wine from the lower realm, the taste would be even better. Yes, there are many things from the lower realm that are not bad, Li Fan said and raised the small wine cup in front of him. He glanced at Wu Xin and found that Wu Xin had already poured a second cup for him. The wine is good, but without songs, it is difficult to liven up the mood. Li Fan suddenly put down the wine cup, turned to the waiter next to him, and said, "Waiter, in your shop, do you have a girl who sings?" Replying to guest, "I am really sorry, this small shop does not have such a girl." The waiter bowed to Li Fan and apologized. "If you are willing to listen to music, there's a tea house not far from here, called the Prestige Hall. You're still acting all high and mighty." Thinking like this in his heart, Li Fan's face showed some regret. He sighed softly. "AI, there is no song, just drinking, isn't it boring? Brother just said that fun and boring is drinking. How come now? Just now I was just drinking, but now that Brother Wu Xin has hooked me, my interest has come up." Li Fan shook his head. "What a pity, what a pity. How about this?" Wu Xin clenched his teeth and then said, "I am untalented, but I know 2 songs. At this time, I am willing to sing them for Brother to liven up the mood. How about it?" "Oh, that's great." Li Fan looked happy. "I really did not expect Brother Wu Xin to have such skills. Very good, very wonderful. Brother, listen to it." Wu Xin gently patted the table with his palm, beating the beat for himself, and then his mouth began to sing a song from the sky beyond heaven. His voice was hoarse. Although this song was good, it was a bit strange when he sang it. The surrounding guests were stunned, thinking, "What's going on? Isn't this a restaurant? How come he's singing?" Li Fan also listened, shaking his head and beating the beat with him, looking very happy. "Brother, I made a fool of myself." After singing the song, Wu Xion's face was a bit red. Wonderful. Brother Wuxin's singing is pretty good. I'm even more interested now. I've made a fool of myself, just to liven up the mood. Brother, why don't you drink? I haven't heard enough. Brother Wu Xian, how about another song? Brother, I am kind enough to drink with you, sharing the fun, but are you teasing me? Wu Xian seemed a bit angry. Li Fan laughed. Not at all, not at all. He picked up the wine cup. Since Brother Wu Xian has said it like this, how can I not drink? Come, this cup of wine to Lord Changwang. After saying that, he drank it in one gulp. Chapter 1728. Li Fan's words to Changwang Darren made Wu Xian's heart jump. What does that mean? Did he find out my identity? Since he found out, why did he still drink the wine? I'm afraid he guessed that I'm an assassin, but I reckon that his martial arts are superior, so he didn't put me in his eyes. But how could he know that this killing intent was in the wine he drank? Li Fan drank the wine in one gulp, then sat in front of Wu Xian, picked up the wine pot, and filled his cup. One cup after another, Li Fan almost drank the entire pot of wine, but he still sat there steadily, without a fart. Friend, are you thinking that I'll die after drinking this mouthful of wine? Li Fan looked at the somewhat puzzled Wu Xian and asked with a smile. Wu Xian didn't say anything, but Li Fan stretched out his open right hand. On his palm, a ball of jet-black liquid formed into a ball and continuously rotated. Your little poison, to me, is not a threat. After saying that, not waiting for Wu Xian to react, Li Fan suddenly shouted, How dare you? You dare to assassinate the royal guards. Thief, you still haven't tied your hands and been captured. Saying that, he took out the tied dowel from the seal, held it in his hand, and chopped down on Wu Xian's head. The people in the inn were shocked, and Wu Xian also turned over, ready to jump out the window and escape. But what kind of person is Li Fan? How can he let him escape? He pulled in the air, activating the dragon hand, and Wu Xian's body was forcibly pulled back, falling in front of Li Fan. Li Fan swung his sword, and blood splattered everywhere. Wu Xian's arm flew to the side, scaring the diners into getting up and leaving. Li Fan stepped on Wu Xian's body to prevent him from escaping. Soon, several citadel guards rushed into the inn, surrounding Li Fan. Everyone, I am the third princess guard. Li Fan pointed at the seal on his shoulder, then pointed at Wu Xian below him. I don't know who sent this person, but he actually wants to use poison to assassinate me. As he spoke, Li Fan kicked Wu Xian in front of them. Go and find out who sent this person. The entire realm beyond Avalon knew about the assassination of the third princess. The guard took a look and confirmed that Li Fan was indeed an imperial guard. His words were probably true. Otherwise, why would he be chopping off someone's arm for no reason? Ugh. I'm watching you from the Spirit King Palace. Wu Xian crushed the poison in his teeth. Black liquid flowed out of his mouth. Then this brother bled from his 7 apertures and died. You guys, how do you do things? Li Fan pretended to be angry. He's already been handed over to you, yet you let him die? My apologies. Sir, the guards looked at each other in dismay, wondering why they were so unlucky. This person should be related to the assassination of the third princess. Unfortunately, this person was already dead. All that was left for them was this corpse, which might have been coated with poison. 2 guards came forward and used a stick to pick up Wu Xian's corpse. Li Fan returned to the table and asked the waiter to change a new set of wine glasses. He continued to taste the wine as if nothing had happened. With Wu Xian's death, the defense around the tomb would certainly be greatly strengthened. In a short period of time, Changwang would not be able to deal with him. What's more, he was about to enter the tomb. Once inside, Changwang would not be able to reach out. Li Fan ate and drank to his heart's content. He slept in the inn for a night, and sure enough, he was safe and sound. The next morning, he relied on the key given to him by the second prince to enter the legendary immortal's tomb. The huge statue's toe was the entrance. The guard saw the key, and without asking much, he let Li Fan in. This key was very rare. Besides the royal family, only the Elders Guild had it. Therefore, Li Fan's identity was not questioned. As soon as he entered the tomb, Li Fan immediately felt the vigorous spiritual energy filling the surroundings. My goodness, this is really a good place. If I practice here, I'm afraid I can really advance by leaps and bounds. In order to improve the elite strength of Sky Beyond Sky, the entire tomb was arranged with many practice rooms. According to the guard, there were at least 100 of them. Li Fan muttered in his heart. It seemed that the immortal was really used in all kinds of ways. Producing immortal crystals was one thing, but they were also used to provide for their own clansmen to cultivate, squeezing out all the value that could be used. Li Fan could not help but admire it. You will be in this practice room. The guard led Li Fan to the front of practice room and pointed inside. Every month, someone will send you food and water. You are not allowed to walk around in the tomb. You can only move in this practice room. When you want to leave, just pull the rope in front of the door, and a guard will take you away. Oh, okay. Li Fan looked at the patrolling soldiers outside and thought to himself that this place was quite heavily guarded. Even with his ability, it was very difficult to sneak around and investigate other places. In the tomb, you must strictly abide by this rule. Once you are found to leave the practice room without permission, you will be expelled immediately. The guard reminded Li Fan again. Okay, got it. I won't wander around. To investigate this place, it was better to wait until he was stronger. The secret of the tomb, he would definitely find out. But now is not the time. When the guard left, he also closed the stone door. This stone door was 1 meter thick, and there were some strange runes engraved on it. It seemed to be used to strengthen the defense. So strict, Li Fan said that it was good this way. He did not have to worry about people disturbing him. The practice room was very clean. There was only a bed and a praying mat on the ground. Beside it was a shelf with a lot of dried meat and a water bottle. It was probably his food storage for this month. Once he entered the state of cultivation, there was almost no day or night. Li Fan did not delay. He directly held the sky with one hand and the ground with the other. At the same time, he put the treasure pearl in his mouth and entered the state of cultivation. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had entered his own inner world. His surroundings became a blue sea of heart. Li Fan stepped on a lotus and floated on the sea. In the sky, 9 stars were shining. These were the 9 important acupoints of Li Fan, and he had already conquered them. But in the following cultivation, Li Fan gradually found the path. Reverse yin and yang. This path was the path to become a god. Who said that practicing martial arts could not become a god? He was going to use martial arts to enter the Tao. On the sea under Li Fan's feet, a Tai Chi diagram appeared faintly and continuously rotated. And behind Li Fan, a golden body suddenly appeared. This body was about 3 meters tall and emitted a mighty aura. According to the evaluation method of the sky beyond heaven, this was a Dharma body of the lower immortal level. Chapter 17:29. At this stage, it was equivalent to entering a threshold. If Li Fan wanted to break through this limit and enter the upper immortal level, he needed a qualitative change. Once he broke through the shackles, Li Fan could continue to strengthen his golden body and let it continue to grow. When it grew to 5 meters tall, it would be at the upper immortal level. If it was a heaven immortal, the avatar could grow to more than 10 meters tall. It was said that the avatar of an immortal paragon was 100 meters tall, just like a huge statue in front of tomb. But these were just legends. The immortal paragon was already in a deep sleep, or it could be said that he was already dead. Whether or not he would fight against such a powerful person, Li Fan had no idea. What he needed to do now was to break through the shackles of a lower immortal and enter the cultivation stage of an upper immortal. The road is long and arduous, Li Fan sighed. He could not help but think of Lu Jinshan's ability. He sent himself to another parallel space and met the great cosmos god. He had met 2 great cosmos gods before, right? But he did not know why such powerful fellows would change. Especially the one he met later, the terrifying power emitted from his body made him feel small. Li Fan secretly compared in his heart. If the great cosmos god fought with this so-called immortal paragon, who would win? Li Fan could not judge. After all, it was a battle between Guangong and Qin Xiong, and it was not easy to compare. He was really envious. If only he had such strength, it would be good. Although he was envious, Li Fan still had to continue his cultivation. He gently breathed, letting the essence energy out of his body. At that moment, Li Fan's essence energy spread very far, covering an area of 100 meters. Fortunately, each training room was far away, so Li Fan's essence energy would not be detected by other cultivators. And in the next second, as Li Fan breathed, the surrounding spiritual energy was sucked in and entered Li Fan's body. The sea of heart under Li Fan's feet finally had a ripple. Li Fan was a little surprised. Very good. The spiritual energy here was very rich and pure. Coupled with the effects of the treasure flower bead, his cultivation had indeed advanced by leaps and bounds. He suddenly opened his eyes, took out a bracelet from the seal, and put on his wrist. The bracelet was made of nanometal and looked very high-tech. This was also a new product developed by Lin Luo. It was equivalent to a small gravity training room, which could allow Li Fan's room to undergo a certain gravity modification. However, the area of the room could not exceed 20 square meters, and it could only maintain twice the gravity. Although twice the gravity was not high in this kind of cultivation environment, it was a kind of benefit. After finishing all this, Li Fan ate a piece of jerky, drank enough water, and then entered the state of cultivation again. Sure enough, after activating 2x gravity, Li Fan's cultivation speed increased. There wasn't much time left for him. On the day of hibernation, the ancient tomb would definitely be cleared, and he wouldn't have the chance to use this room. Moreover, Li Fan had a feeling that something big would happen in sky beyond heaven before the day of hibernation. The time he had to cultivate was estimated to be about 1 or 2 months. Let's break through the shackles first. Li Fan calmed down and mobilized his strength again. He focused and began to break through the shackles in his body. The shackles of the inferior mortal were very strong, and the difficulty of breaking through is far more difficult than breaking through the 9th acupoint. But even so, Li Fan still had to continue to try, to continue to work hard. Especially here, his cultivation speed was almost like a cheat. If he still didn't break through, he would be letting himself down. After cultivating for half a month, Li Fan finally felt that the shackles in his body had loosened a little. He was very excited, ready to use this point to frantically mobilize the primordial chi in his body to break through the shackles of the inferior immortal. Li Fan felt that his strength seemed to have turned into a drill, constantly attacking the shackles. The 3-meter-tall golden body behind him was also constantly trembling, as if it was carrying a mountain, trying to break through the rocks, straighten its chest, and stand up again. Motherfucker, if a martial emperor can do it, why can't I? Li Fan made up his mind. Enduring the pain of blood boiling, he circulated his primordial chi to the extreme, again and again, fiercely attacking the shackles. Bang! 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 The repeated attacks caused Li Fan's head to shake violently, as if something was tearing at his heart. The feeling was extremely uncomfortable. However, Li Fan endured the pain and let the attacks continue. This bit of pain was nothing. If he was not strong, he would probably suffer more in the future. Bullshit shackles, break for young master. Li Fan let his primordial chi explode again, crazily attacking the shackles. Although there was a little crack in the shackles, it was still very strong. If this continued, it would probably be difficult to achieve his wish in a short period of time. Li Fan thought of the principle of using one point to break through the surface. He condensed his primordial chi again, compressed one end of the primordial chi into the size of a needle tip, and charged towards a crack. In reality, Li Fan also spat out a mouthful of blood. The 5 balls of white smoke above his head seemed to be boiling as they surged out and filled the room. This kind of advancement was extremely dangerous. If he made a mistake, Li Fan might go berserk. Break for me. Li Fan finally spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his body felt light. That huge force had finally broken through the limits of his body, as if it had opened a door to a new world. Li Fan wiped his mouth and did not dare to delay any further. He continued to take a cultivation posture and stabilize the energy in his body. At the same time, a majestic aura spread out from the training room. Not far away, the martial emperor who was cultivating suddenly opened his eyes. Eh. The martial emperor frowned and muttered to himself. Someone broke through the boundary of the lower immortal realm again. There are such experts in the current skies beyond sky. The strength of the skies beyond sky had not changed for almost 1,000 years. The boundary between the lower immortal and the upper immortal was like a chasm that was difficult to cross. It was also because of this that after so many years, there were always 49 feudal vassals. Once a new upper immortal appeared, he could obtain the consent of the Elders Guild and the imperial family to obtain a piece of land and bestow it to the imperial family. I never thought that other than me, there would actually be someone else who could enter this realm. The martial emperor felt a little pressure. In order to unify the two realms, he could only cultivate even more diligently. All right, let me see if your improvement is faster or if my cultivation is stronger. The two human experts once again began their competition in this immortal's ancient tomb. Chapter 1730. A month later, the golden body in Li Fan's body had grown to a height of 4 meters. He still needed a long period of cultivation to enter the exalted immortal stage. Li Fan estimated that he would be able to enter the exalted immortal stage after cultivating for another 2 to 3 years in this tomb. However, time seemed to wait for no man. Li Fan could only try his best to consolidate his abilities. After 2 months of training, the guards came to deliver supplies to Li Fan according to the day. Li Fan stopped the guard and asked, "Brother, is there any news outside?" "Oh, it's not very peaceful outside." The guard answered casually, but he seemed a little impatient. "How is it not peaceful?" Li Fan said as he stuffed a handful of immortal crystals into the guard's hand. "There's a fight outside." Li Fan was taken aback by the guard's words. "A fight? What's going on?" "The second prince and the first prince are fighting." The guard didn't seem to care at all. "It can be said that it's a battle between the revolutionaries and the royalists." "Brother, can you tell me in detail?" "I'm a royal guard. This matter is very important to me." Li Fan said as he stuffed another handful of immortal crystals into the guard's hand. "Sure." The guard beamed. The old emperor suddenly disappeared, and the royal family is in chaos. The first prince is living in the palace. Behind him is Prince Feng and more than 10 vassals. Behind the second prince is the Elders' Council and more than 20 vassals. Both sides are about the same in strength. What about the remaining 10 vassals? Most of these vassals are neutral. They don't support either side. Maybe they're just watching. The guard muttered. "What about the princesses?" "The first princess and second princess have allied with King Yu. They brought their dragon tiger cavalry and are temporarily stationed there." After all, he had been paid. The guard told Li Fan everything he knew without holding anything back. "It seems that the second prince is in contact with them. He probably wants to recruit them." The guard shrugged. "That's all I know. What about the third princess?" Li Fan was most concerned about that innocent little girl. "The third princess is still in her fief. I heard that Prince Chong has officially proposed to her." The guard thought about it, and then said, "Although the princess is not very willing, the first prince is likely to agree to this marriage in order to win over Prince Chong and the neutral forces behind him." "Thank you." Li Fan stood up and walked out of the door. "Where are you going?" The guard was taken aback. This guy couldn't be thinking of taking advantage of the chaos, right? "I want to leave the tomb." Li Fan said, "Please send me off, big brother guard." "I can, but it's so chaotic out there. What's the use of you going?" The guard did not understand. "I'm the third princess royal guard. At this time, I must be by her side." The realm beyond Avalon was already in chaos. He had to take this opportunity to make the realm beyond Avalon even more chaotic. Perhaps there was a little selfishness. Li Fan didn't dare to delay. He didn't have the slightest bit of nostalgia. He directly left the tomb and went to the inn to take out his ruby. "Customer outside the Acropolis. It's a chaotic world." The innkeeper kindly reminded Li Fan, "You must be careful if you leave the city at this time. It's a chaotic war, a chaotic war." At this time, It seemed that only the Acropolis was the safest. The other places were full of danger. Thank you for the reminder. Li Fan left some immortal crystals for the innkeeper and went out on a horse, setting off on his journey. He rushed all the way to the Princess Fief. There were 5 fiefs on the way, and with the ruby's speed, it would take about a day. Li Fan was not in a hurry. Although the situation was chaotic, the third princess's identity was there. Even Prince Chong would not dare to do anything to her. But before Li Fan left the Acropolis, he saw a few refugees entering the city in a sorry state. Where are these people from? Li Fan pulled a guard and asked. From the land of frost. The guard pursed his lips, as if he was unhappy about accepting these refugees. The land of frost? Isn't that the third Princess Fief? Yes. The guard saw that Li Fan was a royal guard and that Li Fan had secretly given him a handful of immortal crystals. So he explained, Prince Chong led the army to attack the land of frost. Is Prince Chong crazy? Li Fan was a little surprised. He led the army to attack the third Princess Fief? I heard that the third princess rejected Prince Chang's marriage proposal again. So, the eldest prince originally sent people to protect the land of frost. But Prince Chong received the eldest prince's tacit approval and attacked the land of frost. I think he will marry the third princess in a couple of days. Show you, that idiot. Li Fan couldn't help but curse, scaring the guard. This royal guard was so daring to call the crown prince by his name and curse. Go. Li Fan didn't dare to delay any longer. He got on his horse and galloped towards the third Princess Fief. Soon, he arrived at the gate of the first city, General City. This city wall was more than 10 meters tall, and there were many archers standing on it. The city gate was closed, and it was completely different from when he came. In just 2 short months, Beyond Avalon had changed. It was peaceful before, but now it was littered with corpses. On the way here, Li Fan saw many casually abandoned corpses. There weren't many people in Beyond Avalon to begin with. Now that this had happened, it would probably be greatly damaged, right? It seemed that even without his arrival, Beyond Avalon would be in a mess. If there was someone to blame, it was that unreliable old emperor who didn't even care about his own country. Did he slip away on his own, or was he secretly imprisoned by some crown prince with ulterior motives? It was a mess. To Li Fan, the more chaotic the better. But if the little princess was in danger, he couldn't be at ease. All on top of the city wall, the general guarding the city shouted, Seal the city. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. I am the third princess's royal guard, Li Dazhuang. Li Fan immediately reported his identity. Open the city immediately and let me in. Li Dazhuang? It seems to be the person that Prince Chong warned. Got it. The general discussed with the people next to him and then shouted at Li Fan. General Li, the first prince has already ordered you to go to the imperial capital. Sorry, I have to go to the Frostland first. Please open the city and let me in. That won't do. The higher-ups said that if you disobey the military order and insist on going to the Frostland, you'll be convicted of treason. The first prince is still the crown prince, right? Li Fan didn't buy it at all. Treason, only the emperor could decide, right? The great first prince is the future successor of the empire. The general shouted, General Li, I ask you again, are you determined to resist the imperial order, go to the Frostland, and become a traitor? Chapter 1731. I'm the third princess's imperial guard. I only listen to the third princess's orders. Li Fan rode on his warhorse and said loudly, If you want to order me, invite the third princess over first. Since that's the case, the defending general stretched out his hand. All the archers drew their arrows and aimed at Li Fan below. Traitor, dismount and die. That depends on whether you have the ability. Li Fan chuckled. Release the arrows. The defending general gave the order. In an instant, all the archers on the city wall drew their bowstrings at the same time and shot their arrows. These professional archers shot arrows at an extremely fast speed. Each person could shoot at least 3 arrows per second. So in an instant, at least a few hundred arrows fell from the sky like rain, densely covering Li Fan's head. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Li Fan's power had increased greatly. He gently patted Ruby's head with one hand and waved the scarlet spear with the other, constantly sending the surrounding arrows flying. Dang, dang, dang. Arrows were constantly broken and fell to the ground. Very quickly, there were many broken arrows scattered around Li Fan, gradually piling up into a small mountain. However, Li Fan stood there motionlessly. These arrows could not harm him at all. It's indeed the great general. The defending general made the archers stop. Then he stretched out his hand, and the two deputy generals beside him handed over two copper hammers, which he directly grabbed. Let me, Lunantion, deal with you. With that, he jumped down from the high city wall. The two copper hammers in his hands were like two missiles, instantly arriving above Li Fan's head. The two copper hammers were heavy and large, blocking his body behind him. Li Fan could not stab, so he could only raise his spear horizontally and block in front of him. Dong! The two copper hammers heavily smashed onto the spear shaft. The spear bent slightly and almost broke. Fortunately, this was the precious spear of the beautiful King Yu. It was made of top-notch materials and was extremely tough. In the end, it was still blocked. However, even if it was a divine chariot, it would not be able to withstand such a force. The ruby's front legs finally buckled, and it fell to its knees. Li Fan jumped down from his horse in pain. He landed on the ground and confronted Lunantion. Haha, this kid is dead for sure. On the city wall, the deputy general looked at Li Fan with pity. Our defending general, Lord Lu, is a valiant general with outstanding military exploits. Back then, he followed us to expand the Wang Kingdom's territory and made many contributions. His pair of bronze hammers had smashed the heads of countless traitors in the past. Today, isn't killing this Li Dazhuang a piece of cake? That's right, that's right. This pitiful fellow is actually willing to become a traitor. Moreover, he even encountered our Lord Lu. How unlucky. Everyone laughed at Li Fan, feeling that he was the unluckiest guy in the world. But at the bottom of the city wall, the two began to fight. You're unlucky to have met me, Lunantion said as he waved his two bronze hammers. His body suddenly expanded to nearly 4 meters tall, like a small giant. He lifted the two bronze hammers and smashed them towards Li Fan's head. Dang! The two bronze hammers smashed onto Li Fan's head. However, Li Fan did not move an inch. On the other hand, Lunantion's hands were numb from the impact. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger was bleeding, and he almost lost his grip on the two hammers. Weak. Li Fan's head was pressed against the bronze hammers, and he slowly spat out a word. Lunantion was shocked. However, before he could understand what had happened, Li Fan had already taken a step forward and pierced Lunantion's throat with his spear. Puffed. Lunantion's body was sent flying by Li Fan. That was not all. Li Fan added a Tai Chi spinning force to his spear, instantly crushing Lunantion's head. No matter how strong Lunantion was, he could only obediently die without a head. Li Fan swung his hand and threw Lunantion's corpse away. Who else dares to fight me? Li Fan asked loudly like a general at the front lines. Dispatch the cavalry. The deputy general was shocked. He did not dare to hesitate and immediately opened the city gates, ordering the 30 cavalrymen stationed in the city to charge out. However, Li Fan leaped onto his horse and rode on a ruby. With a single spear, he quickly killed all 30 cavalrymen, leaving not a single one alive. Is there something wrong with you? An angry figure rushed out and cursed at the deputy general. He's a general conferred by several northern wind princes. He's challenging 10 experts from the Dragon Tiger cavalry alone. Aren't you sending my cavalry to their deaths by sending them out? Sir, the deputy general and the soldiers all knelt down, trembling in fear. This was the General King, a middle-aged man in his 40s. His face was filled with hostility. A bunch of trash. The General King's heart ached at the loss of his soldiers. He kicked the deputy general to the ground and walked to the front of the city walls, staring at Li Fan below. General Li, you're indeed impressive. This must be Lord General King. Li Fan held his scarlet spear and rode on the ruby. He raised his head and spoke to the General King. How about it? Are you going to stop me as well? Although I admire General Li's battle prowess, you're still a traitor. Furthermore, you've killed my beloved general and slaughtered my soldiers. Do you think this prince will let you go back alive?" As he spoke, the General King stretched out his hand. A gold and bronze mace appeared in his hand, and he pointed it at Li Fan. "Leave your life behind," the General King roared. His body suddenly grew to 5 meters tall, and he directly descended from the sky, swinging his mace at Li Fan. This time, Li Fan did not dare to make the ruby strenuous. He jumped up from the ruby and landed on the ground. Then, he stomped on the ground with both his feet, creating a crater in the ground. Then, he leaped up and jumped into the air. As for Li Fan, his body did not expand. After tempering the power of the golden body in his body would not expand, but his body would become even more sturdy and hard. This was the difference between him and the people of sky beyond heaven. He was a human and the other was a god. Everyone's cultivation methods were completely different. This was the difference. "Puny low immortal, eat this." The General King did not put Li Fan in his eyes at all. He was a high and mighty high immortal, a lord with power in his hands. How could a so-called great general be his match? The General King transformed into a powerful high immortal avatar. The mace in his hand smashed towards Li Fan. Li Fan also swung his spear, and the body of the spear collided with the mace. Bang! Li Fan's body fell heavily and smashed into the ground, creating a crater. "How pitiful," the General King laughed. "With this kind of strength, you can be called a general? Puny low immortal, die." As he spoke, the General King descended from the sky. The mace in his hand aimed at Li Fan and chased after him again. Everyone on the city wall was overjoyed. With the General King personally taking action, wouldn't it be easy? Chapter 1732. The General King descended from the sky and chased after Li Fan. He raised his mace and smashed it down on the pit where Li Fan was. However, Li Fan suddenly flipped over and kicked with both feet, kicking the huge mace that was falling towards him. Clang! The mace was kicked back, and the General King was shocked. He never thought that Li Fan would be able to break his move so easily. Li Fan turned around, and the spear in his hand stabbed forward. The General King was pushed away, and his heart was pierced by this spear. Bang! Half of the General King's body was blasted through, but he still roared and grabbed Li Fan's spear with his remaining arm. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a bolt of red lightning at Li Fan. Li Fan could not dodge in time and was struck by the lightning. He was sent flying and smashed into the ground, creating a long gully. The General King dragged half of his body and stood there. He swayed a few times and finally knelt down on the ground. His pupils began to slacken, and he lost the last of his vitality. Even in death, the General King would not believe that he had fallen to the hands of an unknown little general. Li Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. He patted the dust off his body and stood up from the pit. Who else? He raised his spear and asked in a loud voice. No one in the city dared to answer. Li Fan was so ferocious, who dared to fight him? Even the General King and the exalted immortal could not last more than 3 moves in his hands. Li Fan knew that the reason why the General King was killed in 3 moves was because he had underestimated his opponent. The General King had only used half of his strength in this fierce martial technique. On one hand, he had underestimated his opponent, and on the other hand, he had been probing. In the end, he had fallen into Li Fan's trap and was directly killed. With the General King's death, the city lost its backbone. Only 2 deputy generals were left standing on the city wall with sullen expressions. I'll count to 3. If you don't open the gates, you'll have to bear the consequences. Li Fan stretched out 3 fingers. The 2 deputy generals calculated. The feudal vassals were all dead. Whether they surrendered or not, they would all die. He gritted his teeth, stomped his feet, and went all out. Warriors of General City, listen up. We swear to never become slaves of a subjugated nation. The 2 deputy generals roared and led the remaining 2 battalions of infantry soldiers to rush out. That's good. You have some backbone. Li Fan nodded, but he wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he slowly said, "I'm only going to the Frostlands. I'm just passing by when I reach General City. Although the General King is dead, you may not necessarily be implicated by him. So, if you want to live, then make way. If you want to die, then bring it on." As Li Fan spoke, he waved the scarlet spear in his hand. With a rumbling sound, the ground was shaken by his long spear, and a crack appeared. Everyone was shivering, and those who had previously disregarded their own safety had also run to Java. "Come, who wants to fight with me?" Li Fan shouted. No one in front of him was a match for him, and the two deputy generals were terrified. As the saying goes, the first spurt of energy, the second decline, and the third exhaustion. Already having the intention to retreat, the people of General City did not dare to go against Li Fan. Under Li Fan's imposing manner, they all retreated, opening up a path for Li Fan to enter the city. "Many thanks." Li Fan flipped onto his horse and swaggered off. After passing by General City, there were still 4 more checkpoints in front of Li Fan waiting for him. After General City was Yang City, and after Yang City was the Wall of Kings Road. After that was Rain City, and finally Frost City. These checkpoints might have already become the territories of the eldest prince and Prince Chong. Li Fan did not want to waste too much time. He urged the Red Gem to go as fast as possible to the next city, Yang City. In front of the gates of Yang City, there were already hundreds of cavalrymen waiting. They have betrayed the future. "Everyone get ready." The young King Yang stood on the city gate tower, holding a bow and arrow in his hand, and loudly ordered his guards. Li Fan took a look and saw that not all of the cavalrymen here were from Yang City. The news of him betraying the eldest prince and killing the General King had probably spread throughout the realm beyond Avalon in the blink of an eye. In the realm beyond Avalon, they also had their own unique means of communication. It seemed that the realm beyond Avalon would become even more chaotic under his push. If he went against the eldest prince, the second prince would soon extend an olive branch to him. Rebel Li Dazhuang, get off your horse and die. King Yang was in high spirits. When the news of Li Fan's betrayal spread, the eldest prince ordered for the cavalrymen from the surrounding cities to be transferred to him. With these hundreds of cavalrymen, wouldn't he be invincible? Whoever kills the rebel general, the eldest prince will confer him the title of National Protector General. This was not a low position. National Protector General was almost on the same level as a duke. The cavalrymen were excited, and almost 1,000 infantrymen rushed out of the city gate. They looked at Li Fan with green eyes. At this time, in their eyes, Li Fan had almost become a money tree. In the realm beyond Avalon, the path to the top was almost blocked. Killing Li Fan was their only chance to make a name for themselves. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan was surrounded by layers of people. He was surrounded by people who wanted to take his head and get promoted. Li Fan did not look like a fierce general, but like a piece of fat meat. Come, come, come. However, Li Fan did not have the slightest fear. Instead, he laughed loudly and rushed into the crowd with his red spear. With one spear strike, he killed one person. The words brave and good at fighting were no longer enough to describe Li Fan. He was like an invincible god of war, charging and breaking through the enemy lines, killing his enemies and generals. He really had a kind of satisfaction of killing a person every 10 steps and going 1,000 miles unstoppable. Li Fan rode on the ruby and charged quickly into the crowd. No one could stop him. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 100 people who died under Li Fan's spear. King Yang was shocked to find that almost all the elites around him were dead or injured. But the rebel general was still riding on the horse, looking majestic and commanding the crowd with his spear. "I will take this guy's head." King Yang knew that if this went on, the morale of his subordinates would also be beaten up. Once the crowd became afraid, then they would not have any chance at all. King Yang immediately summoned his Dharmakaya and turned into a strong man more than 4 meters tall. He pulled the Sunshot Divine Bow in his hand. Die! An arrow suddenly disappeared in the air. Li Fan almost subconsciously frowned and raised his arm to block in front of him. Poof! This arrow suddenly appeared and actually shot into Li Fan's flesh. The arrowhead was stuck in his arm. No wonder he had the strength of an exalted immortal. This move was so powerful. If he had not blocked it in time, his eye would have been pierced. Rebel General, your death is coming. King Yang was also surprised by Li Fan's judgment. He pulled the bow again and aimed at Li Fan. Chapter 1733. The strength of a mighty immortal was equivalent to that of 100 martial saints. In the past, Li Fan could only get close to this strength when he was at the third stage of the Heavenly Thunder transformation. Now, he was even more relaxed. His current level of strength was between a lower immortal and a mighty immortal, almost at the level of 50 martial saints. Now that he was using the third stage of the Heavenly Thunder transformation, its power was even more terrifying. But in the Outland, unless it was absolutely necessary, Li Fan could not reveal his trump card. While he was thinking, another arrow pierced through the air. Li Fan grabbed the cavalryman next to him, pulled him down from the horse, and used him as a shield. Puff! The arrow directly shot through the man's body, and then got stuck in the muscles in front of Li Fan's chest. Even though he had caught someone as a buffer, the arrow could still break through his defense. Even Li Fan had to praise him. If he continued to shoot unscrupulously, it would be a fatal threat to him. Li Fan stepped on the ruby stirrup and jumped into the air. He somersaulted 3 times in the air and dodged King Yang's arrow. Finally, his body appeared in front of King Yang, and the spear in his hand was aimed at King Yang's throat. Humph! King Yang was not only good at riding and archery. He pulled out a long saber from behind his waist and blocked Li Fan's spear with a bang. King Yang held this saber and continuously blocked Li Fan's spear. His saber technique was indeed good, very suitable for defense. But Li Fan's martial arts technique was a notch higher. He suddenly showed an opening, causing King Yang to pounce forward and slash with his saber, but it was directly caught by Li Fan's forefingers. Dragon catch your hand. King Yang felt as if his saber was sucked in, and he could not pull it out no matter how hard he tried. Damn it! He hurriedly let go of his saber and slid back more than 3 meters. At the same time, he grabbed the bow and arrow again, knocked an arrow, and aimed at Li Fan. But Li Fan stared at his shoulder, and when his shoulder shook, he raised the spear in his hand. Dang, dang, dang. King Yang shot 3 arrows in a row, but they were all flicked away by Li Fan's spear. Too weak. Li Fan was expressionless. Under King Yang's shocked gaze, he took a step forward and thrust his spear forward like a dragon, instantly piercing through King Yang's chest. Poochie! King Yang did not have a body as strong as Li Fan's, so there was no way he could withstand Li Fan's spear. His body was sent flying, and a large hole was blasted through his chest. Li Fan kicked his corpse to the side and stood on the city wall, looking down at the dumbfounded soldiers. Those who don't retreat by the count of 5 will die. Li Fan said loudly. There are so many of us. What are we afraid of? Yes, don't be afraid. Kill him. Avenge the Lord. After all, there were still hundreds of soldiers and dozens of cavalrymen. They encouraged each other and charged at Li Fan again. All right. Li Fan took a deep breath and quickly injected his primordial chi into the spear in his hand. There seemed to be a bird's cry in the sky. It was the cry of a vermilion bird. Li Fan grabbed the spear with both hands and leaped from the city wall. Then, he suddenly fell to the ground. Boom! Li Fan stabbed his spear into the ground. His primordial chi flowed along the spear and pierced into the ground before exploding. A scarlet vermilion bird, almost 100 meters tall, rose from the ground and slowly dissipated into the void. This was an ultimate move that Li Fan had used in conjunction with the vermilion bird. It was commonly known as R. In an instant, primordial chi rapidly rubbed against the air, emitting terrifying heat. Within a radius of 100 meters, be it humans or beasts, everything was steamed by this high temperature. Although this move was powerful, it also consumed almost half of Li Fan's primordial chi. He immediately took out primordial recovery pills and swallowed a few, like jelly beans, to replenish his primordial chi that was rapidly draining. The city gate, which was crowded with people just a moment ago, now had no one left. All that was left were steamed corpses that were strewn all over the place. Li Fan stood on the ground and whistled. Ruby, who had already run far away, immediately ran over and carried its master on its back. Let's go. We're heading for the wall of Imperial Road. Li Fansheng carved out a bloody path. He passed through Yang City and headed straight for the wall of the King's Road in the center. This wall of Imperial Road was a bit like China's Great Wall. It stretched for hundreds of miles and lay in front of the mountains. It merged with the natural moat and blocked Li Fan's path. When Li Fan arrived, there was only one general on the wall of Imperial Road. Her name was Sun Yao. Sun Yao had been stationed on the wall of Imperial Road for more than 1,000 years and had always been proud of this stronghold. But today he felt a little guilty because the person standing in front of him was a great expert who had challenged the 10 Dragon Tiger Cavalry and even killed 2 vassal kings in a row. Li, General Li. Sun Yao looked at the young general below. He was wearing golden imperial armor and a scarlet cloak on his back, which was given to him by the first princess. He held a vermilion spear in his hand called Cinnabar Wildfire, which was entrusted to him by the King of Yu. Below him was a divine steed called Ruby, which was also a gift from the first prince. A person who used to be favored by the crown prince was today killing the royal family and vassals. But thinking of the wall of Imperial Road, which was like a natural moat, Sun Yao regained his confidence and shouted to Li Fan, who stopped in front of the cliff. Traitor Li Dazhuang, this wall of Imperial Road is your end. Although you're powerful, you can't cross this chasm. The wall of Imperial Road and the cliffs on both sides were 100 meters apart. No one could cross without putting down the covered bridge. Want to fly over? Impossible. There was a special formation engraved here that forbade flying. And on both sides of the wall of Imperial Road, there was a crossbow every 10 meters. The arrows on these crossbows could be fired in rapid succession. Even if someone wanted to jump over, they would be shot full of holes by these crossbows. Li Fan looked at the wall of Imperial Road, and sure enough, he was in a bit of a dilemma. Even if he could cross, what about Ruby? Li Fan didn't know the God Race's space escape technique, but his 100-Li dragon should be able to cross this chasm. And Ruby had fought with him all the way, so Li Fan couldn't bear to leave it behind. Hee, you're at your wit's end. Sun Yao looked at Li Fan's troubled expression and felt a little proud. Thief, you're still not going to surrender. Seeing that you were once a royal guard, I might leave your corpse intact. This person definitely didn't know how to negotiate. What a retard. Li Fan rolled his eyes, then lightly jumped down from Ruby and patted the horse's head. Wait here for me for a while. I'll be right back. Li Fan held his great spear, swung his cloak, and walked step by step towards a cliff. Crazy. This person was definitely crazy. Sun Yao couldn't help but think, under these conditions, he actually wanted to cross the chasm. Very good. Today I'll let him know why the wall of Imperial Road is called Imperial Road. Chapter 1734. After Li Fan got off the horse, he walked to the edge of the cliff and directly jumped into the air, as if he did not care about the 100-meter gap at all. He actually jumped over. Good. I was just afraid you wouldn't come over. Sun Yao was overjoyed. As the saying goes, you don't take the right path to heaven. You barge into the doorless hell. The wall of the King's Road is a place where you, Li Dazhuang, will be buried. Release the crossbow bolts. Sun Yao waved his hand, and the surrounding soldiers all moved, controlling the crossbow bolts, shooting at Li Fan, who was in the air, one after another, nearly 2-meter-long bolts. If he was not careful, Li Fan's heart would be pierced by the crossbow bolts, and he would die on this wall of King's Road. But how could the great little overlord Li Fan be stumped by this little bit of suffering? His body somersaulted in the air and rose a little higher. Then he continuously stepped on the incoming crossbow bolts with both feet. He actually used these crossbow bolts to quickly cross the 100-meter distance, arriving on top of the wall of King's Road. Quick, release the bolts. Sun Yao said in his heart, not good. He subconsciously waved his hand, ordering the archers on the wall to release the bolts. Sun Yao's adjutant was also an archer. He was the first to react, drawing his bow, preparing to shoot at Li Fan. But Li Fan threw the great spear in his hand. With a bang, the great spear pierced through the adjutant's head, nailing him to the ground. Li Fan then arrived, both hands holding 2 sabers. He jumped on top of the wall. 1 saber for 1 guard, killing the guards on the wall until they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves, throwing away their helmets and armor, fleeing in panic. Sun Yao was dumbfounded. He had been guarding the wall of King's Road for so many years, but this was the first time he saw such a ferocious person. He did not even have the standard of an exalted immortal. At this moment, he was scared by the blood-stained Li Fan. He kept retreating. Where did the bravery of the past go? This brother planned to abandon his soldiers and escape from the other side of the wall. Where do you think you're going? Li Fan had already jumped up high. His body spun, waving the 2 sabers, slashing through Sun Yao's body. With a squelch, Sun Yao's armor and body were instantly cleaved in 2. Li Fan was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, killing to his heart's content on the city wall. No one could stop him. In a short while, the guards on the wall of King Road were all killed by him. Li Fan's golden armor was stained with blood. He looked like a ferocious ghost that had just crawled back from hell. He put away his great spear and walked to the front of the city gate. With 1 slash, he cut off the chain and let the ruby in. Just like that, the wall of King Road was conquered by Li Fan. The next stage was Rain City, which was adjacent to Frost City. The news of him breaking through the wall of King's Road had probably already reached Rain City. After the Rain King learned of this news, how would he welcome him? Li Fan thought of many ways, but when he arrived at Rain City, he found that the city gates were open and there wasn't even a single guard, allowing Li Fan to enter the city. So that's how it is. Li Fan looked at the empty streets around him and seemed to have understood something. An exalted immortal might not be able to defeat him, but if Prince Chong transferred the Rain King to his side and the 2 of them joined forces to deal with him, they might have a chance. The entire army of Rain City should have been stationed in Frost City. That was good too. He could deal with them all at once, saving him trouble in the future. Along the way, his relationship with the first prince could be considered to have been completely severed. But it didn't matter. Even without the first prince, there was still the second prince to take over. The combat strength he displayed would definitely make the second prince very satisfied. Similarly, the first prince should be itching to kill him now. If an expert like him followed the second prince, it would be too much of a threat to the first prince's fight for the throne. Li Fan continued forward, safely passing through Rain City. Finally, before nightfall, he finally arrived at the city gates of Frost City. As the fief of the 3rd princess, the gates of Frost City were built low and small, only 3 to 4 meters tall. But at this moment, there were 2,000 soldiers stationed in front of the gates, as well as 200 cavalry and 30 dragon tiger riders. They seemed to be the elites sent by the first prince. The 3rd princess and the 3rd prince's dragon tiger riders were also among them. It seemed that in order to deal with him, the first prince had gone to great lengths. On top of the city gate tower, riding on a black tiger, wasn't that Prince Chong? To his left stood a young man in a blue robe. Judging from the emblem on his body, he should be the Rain King himself. And to his right stood a young man and a young woman. Although they were both wearing embroidered robes, the 2 of them had furrowed brows, seemingly unhappy. When she saw Li Fan walk valiantly to the front of the army alone, the young woman's eyes brightened, then darkened. Why is he here? For me. He would rather become a traitor? But how can he deal with so many people? Shuang'er, look at this. How could such a stupid man be worthy of you? Prince Chong pointed at Li Fan below and said to the princess, "Only this prince can be your son-in-law." "Shut up," Qiu Shuang rebuked. "He's a hero. How can a lowly person like you speak such nonsense? What's the use of admiring him so much?" Prince Chong was unhappy and mocked. Even if he's a hero, he's just a man and a horse, nothing more than the bravery of an ordinary man. This prince can command a vast army, but with a flick of my finger, he'll be beheaded. Words of a coward, Qiu Shuang retorted. In my heart, only he can be called a hero. If I were to marry, I should marry him. If he's dead, let's see how you're going to marry. Live and be a member of his clan. If he's dead, become a ghost of his clan. Stupid. You're hopelessly stupid. Prince Chong was about to explode in anger and could not help but curse. Qiu Shuang, if not for the fact that you're a princess, this prince would have already chopped off your head. What's the point of shouting? Qiu Shuang was not afraid at all. If you have the guts, do it. Royal sister, calm down. Xiaonan was about to pee in his pants. He had never seen such a scene before. Don't be afraid. Big sister will accompany you. Qiu Shuang reached out and patted her brother's head. Third princess, when you see this prince's methods, you'll naturally be convinced. Prince Chong did not dare to do anything to third princess. Before he ascended to the throne, third princess was his most important card. That first prince was dreaming if he thought that he could control him through his sister. How could he be satisfied with a mere son-in-law position? When he had the right to inherit the throne, heaven upon heavens would be surnamed Chong. Generally, long time no see. Thinking of this, Prince Chang's interest was piqued, and he said to Li Fan below, "It's been a few months. How have you been?" Li Fan held his spear and ignored Prince Chong. He stared at third princess and said, "Third princess, wait for me. I'll come and save you immediately." Chapter 1735. Impudent fellow, how dare you ignore this king? King Chong was furious. He pointed at Li Fan and ordered his soldiers, "Kill him. Reward him with the position of general and 100,000 immortal crystals." With a great reward, there would be brave men, not to mention there were so many warriors here. However, Li Fan's expression did not change. He held his spear and laughed. Soldiers are brave. Generals are brave. King Chong, do you think a shameless person like you can bring out an elite army? Watch me destroy your army. The 200 cavalrymen charged at Li Fan. These cavalrymen were equipped with spears. The spears were pointed at Li Fan, ready to poke him full of holes. Li Fan held his spear in one hand and held the reins with the other. Ruby immediately neighed and raised its front hooves high. The cloak behind Li Fan danced like a burning flame. When Li Fan's warhorse fell, he swept his spear horizontally. The air seemed to be split apart. A strong gust of wind immediately swept out, blowing the opposing cavalry into a complete mess. Li Fan took the opportunity to jump up. Holding his spear, he charged into the cavalry. With one spear strike, he knocked the cavalrymen off their horses and onto the ground. The 200 elite cavalrymen were no match for Li Fan. Very quickly, they began to retreat. Infantry, raise your spears and surround him. King Chong waved his hand. The surrounding infantry raised their spears and surrounded Li Fan in the center. In this way, Li Fan was trapped in the center and had no way to get out. Be good and wait for me here. Riding Ruby, there was no way he could fight these infantry. Li Fan patted its forehead again to comfort Ruby. Then, he stepped on the stirrup and jumped off the horse. Eat my spear. After Li Fan got off the horse, he seemed to be even more valiant. He waved his spear continuously, smashing the soldiers in front of him into pieces. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. Prince Chong, who was sitting on the black tiger, couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded when he saw this scene. What was going on? Why was he even more powerful without his warhorse? Pooh! Li Fan thrust his spear again, piercing through a centurion's shield and then piercing through his throat, sending him flying high into the air. The surrounding spearmen were finally afraid. They had no choice but to be afraid. This fellow was too strong. I can't beat him. There's no need to put your life on the line. Because they were fighting with their flesh and blood, the warriors of Sky beyond Avalon finally began to retreat in the face of unstoppable death. They continuously retreated, avoiding Li Fan, not daring to approach him. Soon, a 10-meter vacuum was formed in front of Li Fan. He walked forward, and the soldiers retreated. King Chong was so angry that he almost vomited blood. A bunch of trash. Mount the tiger and meet the enemy. He could only use his last resort, Dragon Tiger Mount. The Dragon Tiger Mount had already received the Crown Prince's order to fully cooperate with King Chang's operation. However, the Dragon Tiger Mount had always been afraid of Li Fan. Could they really defeat this war god? Even the exalted immortals couldn't do anything to him. Just how strong was he? However, the combat power of 30 Dragon Tiger Mount could practically destroy an entire civilization. It should be possible to use it to deal with this traitor, right? At this moment, the 30 Dragon Tiger Mount were all donned in armor. These 30 were like tanks, stepping on waves of fire, charging out of the parted crowd and crushing towards Li Fan. Good. Li Fan gripped his spear tightly. Looking at this terrifying heavy cavalry, he was also thinking of a plan. His diamond body, it was probably time to properly test it out. Thinking of this, Li Fan held the 2-meter-long vermilion spear in his hand and stood in place, unmoving. The leading Dragon Tiger Mount had already rushed in front of Li Fan. He waved the crescent moon blade in his hand and heavily slashed down. Clang! The crescent moon blade was stuck on Li Fan's neck. It was as if it had hit steel, causing the Dragon Tiger Mount's hands to go numb. The crescent moon blade directly flew out of his hand. The Dragon Tiger Mount also slammed its head into Li Fan's body, but Li Fan was like a pillar, not moving at all. The Dragon Tiger Mount howled in pain. With a thud, its body immediately flipped over and fell unconscious behind Li Fan. Li Fan grabbed the Dragon Tiger Mount's tail and actually carried the huge Dragon Tiger Mount as if it was a sack and swung it. Bang! The few Dragon Tiger Mounts in front of him tilted and slid away. Another Dragon Tiger Mount charged towards Li Fan from the side. Li Fan blocked with one hand, and with a thud his arm shook. The Dragon Tiger Mount was a ferocious beast with a length of nearly 5 meters. The impact of its charge could be said to be destructive. However, it was blocked by Li Fan with one hand. The Dragon Tiger Mount on top could not withstand the inertia and fell down. With a sweep of Li Fan's spear, it was split into 2 halves. Li Fan once again thrusted the great spear in his hand. The spear tip immediately pierced through the Dragon Tiger Mount's eye. The Dragon Tiger Mount screamed in pain, but because its brain was smashed by Li Fan, the screams came to an abrupt stop. The other Dragon Tiger Mounts were a little afraid. If they could speak, they would definitely start muttering. Damn it, we are already fierce enough. I did not expect this brother to be even fiercer than them. Li Fan walked forward step by step. The Dragon Tiger Mounts followed the foot soldiers and retreated. The princess laughed happily, but Prince Chang's eyes turned red. Go. All of you go. Kill that lowly fellow. Li Fan suddenly threw the great spear in his hand. The cinnabar flowing fire turned into a red lightning and instantly arrived in front of Prince Chang. Prince Chang was alarmed. Fortunately, he was also a high immortal. He subconsciously tilted his head. Clang! The great spear pierced through a guard behind him. Then, the guard flew 7 to 8 meters away and was nailed to the ground behind the city wall. Prince Chang broke out in cold sweat. Just now, he seemed to have brushed shoulders with the god of death. Not good, the third princess jumped down. Quick, get the third princess back. Hearing his men's exclamations, Prince Chang retracted his gaze. When he looked again, Qiu Shuang had actually jumped down from the city wall. She looked at Li Fan, opened her arms, and smiled. Li Fan stepped forward, caught the third princess, and held her in his arms. I said that I would go and get you. Why did you jump down? I missed you. The third princess hugged Li Fan's neck and leaned into his embrace. Indeed, this was the safest place. Idiot. Li Fan hugged the third princess, turned around, and kicked the head of a soldier who was about to sneak an attack on him. Another soldier's spear stabbed into Li Fan's ribs. However, it was as if it had stabbed into an iron sheet. It could not pierce through at all. Li Fan smiled at the terrified soldier, then whipped his leg and broke his head. Chapter 1736. Whether Prince Chang wanted to admit it or not, Li Fan was powerful. Even without a weapon, he could still sweep across the battlefield. I don't believe it, Prince Chang roared. Suddenly, a group of blackheads rushed out from the surrounding forest. There were no less than 5,000 of them. Each of them was holding a katana in their hands. Without making a sound, they quickly surrounded Li Fan. These were the soldiers of the Black Camp trained by Prince Chang. Although it was only a part of his strength, it was still very shocking. These soldiers were all close to 3 meters tall, with fierce eyes. And they were all riding on a beast unique to human realm beyond heavens, Tempest Wolves. These Tempest Wolves were very fast, could carry a lot of gravity, and there were a lot of them. But because they were wild and hard to tame, they were not included in the taming plan. But unexpectedly, Prince Chong had secretly trained so many Tempest Wolves. Now that they all came out at once, it was very scary. Xiaonan stood on top of the wall. His sister also jumped over the wall, leaving him alone. Looking at the wolf riders, he trembled in fear. Xiao Shuang leaned on Li Fan's arms, not afraid at all. Look, if you jump down yourself, what about the third prince? It's time for him to grow up. At this time, more than 5,000 wolf riders had already surrounded Li Fan and the others. Prince Shang put up a thumb and sneered. Traitor, do you see that? This is this king's strength. You are just a small obstacle on my path of ascension. Third princess, please be gentler. I can't breathe. No, I like it this way. All right, but Li Fan only talked to Qiu Shuang in his arms. Prince Chang screamed. What a traitor. How dare you ignore me again and again? Black Camp Wolf Riders, listen to my command. Kill this man, dead or alive. It's a bit tall, hold me tight. Li Fan, on the other hand, held onto the princess with one hand and stomped on the ground with both feet. In the blink of an eye, he had actually leaped over 100 meters into the air. His body hung upside down in the air as he stared at the massive wolf cavalry below. The nine-tailed divine fox's power immediately surged into Li Fan's palm and fused with his palm technique. Dragon King Seal, Immerse Fox. A nine-tailed fox vaguely appeared in the void. This kind of fox was common in the Green Mountains, so Li Fan was not afraid of exposing himself. At the same time, Li Fan struck the ground with his palm. With a rumble, a palm print about 100 meters in diameter appeared on the ground. The ground caved in, and in an instant, over 200 wolf cavalry soldiers were crushed into meat paste. Prince Chong was also scared out of his wits. What kind of kung fu was this? When had the realm beyond Avalon ever had such a powerful palm technique? Could it be that this Li Dazhuang had learned from the masters on Earth for a long time? Damn it! Why did such a terrifying enemy appear out of nowhere? Li Fan hugged the third princess again and then descended from the sky. At the same time, his legs kicked out continuously. His body spun from time to time like a whirlwind, killing the surrounding wolf cavalry soldiers. His legs were sharper than any divine weapon or sharp blade. His speed was faster and fiercer than any mount. Prince Chong, let's attack together. The Rain King pulled out his sword and said to Prince Chong, who was already stunned. Yes, Prince Chong suddenly came to his senses. He was an exalted immortal after all, together with the Rain King. With two exalted immortals attacking together, no matter how fierce that kid was, he would still be killed here. The two dukes roared and suddenly leaped more than 5 meters into the air. One held a large sword, the other a large ringed saber. A powerful pressure also spread out. The remaining wolf cavalry did not know fear at all. They only had one thought in mind, and that was to kill Li Fan. At this moment, an angry roar suddenly came from afar. All of you stop. This angry roar was like a clap of thunder, so loud that everyone's ears hurt. Prince Chong knew that this was not good. He looked in the direction of the voice and immediately saw hundreds of sky cavalry riding on immortal cranes, surrounding a handsome man and flying towards him. The second prince's flying crane cavalry. This flying crane cavalry was a special force that the second prince had cultivated himself. Every cavalry soldier was equipped with a streaming fire seal. Apart from the conventional cold weapons, the realm beyond Avalon also had a unique offensive weapon, which was the seal that was infused with a large amount of immortal crystal energy. For example, the streaming fire seal could release a spell called Meteor Fire. However, this streaming fire seal was extremely costly, and ordinary dukes could not afford it. Even Prince Chong only had a divine thunder seal for himself, and he could not bear to use it. Only a rich and overbearing fellow like the second prince could afford to play like this. With so many flowing fire seals, if they would be unleashed in the air at the same time, it was likely that his wolf cavalry would be burnt to a crisp, leaving not a single armor behind. I didn't know that your highness had arrived. Sorry for not coming out to greet you. A real man should know when to stretch and when to retreat. Prince Chong pulled the Rain King, and the two of them knelt on the ground and bowed to the sky. Li Fan was delighted. Very good. Reinforcements had finally arrived. The second prince could not sit still anymore. Lord Prince Chong, you still know that I am the second prince. The second prince was riding on a 7-colored immortal crane. Dressed in white, he waved his folding fan, looking handsome and charming. I thought that you only have my brother in your heart. Both of you are the crown prince. Please do not make things difficult for me, your highness. Prince Chong was actually very dissatisfied, but at this moment, he had to admit defeat. If he had known, he would have brought all the archers. The second prince's flying crane cavalry was not enough. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. I did not want to make things difficult for you, but you imprisoned my sister. What crime do you think you deserve? Your highness, the third princess, and I have been engaged for hundreds of years. She is my fiancée. Now that I have received the first prince's permission, I have come to marry the third princess. How is this imprisonment? Your highness, please understand. Engagement? The second prince chuckled. Even if it is an engagement, if a member of the royal family is not willing, how does it count? Sister, are you willing to marry Lord Prince Chong? Of course not. The princess said without hesitation. You see, my sister is not willing, so you use a chicken feather as a token of authority. Are you prepared to abuse the children of the royal family? The celestial lord is asleep, and father is missing. Should the royal family be bullied like this? Your highness is too serious. I dare not. Prince Chong cupped his hands. But since the second prince thinks that I am guilty, then punish me. If the second prince got rid of Prince Chong here, not to mention whether he could do it, even if he did, his relationship with the first prince would deteriorate further. Although the two sides were in a standoff, it was not yet time to shed all pretense of cordiality. The second prince weighed the pros and cons and would not punish Prince Chong. But the second prince had come all the way here. If he let Prince Chong go so easily, he would definitely lose face. The scene was a little awkward. Chapter 1737. How could Li Fan not know what the second prince was thinking? Since the second prince was the only person he could rely on, he had to share some of his worries. Thus, Li Fan squeezed third princess's hand lightly. Third princess was also a smart person and immediately reacted. Imperial brother, no matter what, Prince Chong was once engaged to me. Although his actions were a little extreme, on account of the fact that he was a duke personally appointed by the celestial supremacy, we should give him a chance. Qiu Shuang said loudly. Fine. The second prince was happy. He nodded. My sister is well-educated and magnanimous. She is truly a role model for the royal family. After praising his own people, he looked at Prince Chong. Prince Chong, you may leave, but you are not allowed to enter the Frost Land in this life. Farewell. Prince Chong had already lost his best chance. He was not stupid, so he led the Rain King and the remaining troops and started to retreat from the Frost Land. After he left, Li Fan strode in front of the second prince and knelt before him. Greetings, your highness. The second prince's rainbow crane had just landed. Seeing this scene, he hurried forward and helped Li Fan up. We will be a family from now on. Don't be so formal. Family? Li Fan was stunned. Qiu Shuang stood at the side, blushing and fiddling with the corner of her clothes. Her girlish demeanor made some of the soldiers dazed. At the same time, they secretly cursed themselves for not being a hero like General Li. If the princess looked at them one more time, they would be willing to shorten their lifespan by a few hundred years. Since you defeated Prince Chong, then according to the rules of the human realm beyond Avalon, from today onwards, you are my sister's husband. The second prince waved his fan and chuckled. However, if you're only a son-in-law, then it will be hard on you. How about this? You will immediately be appointed as the great marshal of the imperial army. You will be the commander of the Imperial Army and help me to quell the internal strife of the human realm beyond Avalon. Li Fan's expression froze. The real show was here. Follow me back to the Imperial capital. When we reach there, I will personally host your wedding with my sister. Qiu Shuang was secretly happy. However, according to Li Fan, things might not be that simple. In the end, Qiu Shuang had become a political sacrifice. The second prince planned to use her to tie him down. The eldest prince probably wanted to quickly snatch Qiu Shuang away to appease the powerful Prince Chong. As Li Fan thought of this, he cupped his hands in obeisance. Your Highness the second prince, the country is in danger. How can you care about your personal feelings? Why don't I ask the second prince to give me 100 horsemen? I will train in the Frostlands for 2 months, and then I will be able to bring them quickly into the city. Qiu Shuang pouted. Was this fellow so unwilling to marry her? I believe you have the strength, but now is not the time. The second prince waved his hand. Moreover, we have more important things to do. I heard that father left a secret edict in the palace. Li Fan understood. So it was because of this. In heavens beyond, you could call yourself a king. As long as you had the strength of a heavenly immortal, the royal family would confer you the title of Marquis and give you land. But if you wanted to become an emperor, it was impossible without an official title. Why? Because everything in heavens beyond depended on the Lord Celestial Prime. All the people worshipped the Lord Celestial Prime the most. Other than the Lord Celestial Prime, if anyone else wanted to become an emperor, they would never agree. Moreover, the Lord Celestial Prime might feel the change in his bloodline and wake up again to destroy the person who tried to overthrow the regime. If the old emperor left a secret edict, once it was announced, the whole country would support whoever the higher-ups decided to be the emperor. The two princes were not stupid. Although they wanted to become emperors, they did not want to become enemies of the country. Behind the eldest prince was Prince Foam, and behind the second prince was the Elders' Council. Right now, they were evenly matched. The secret edict was the deciding factor. They had to get the secret edict in their hands first. Li Fan finally understood why the eldest prince did not show up despite the intense battle. It turned out that he had gone to the capital first. The second prince had given him face by coming all the way here to look for him. I am extremely grateful that the second prince came to save me in such an emergency. Li Fan cupped his fists, and the second prince nodded with a smile. You're too kind. It's what I should do. But since I've already picked you up, please follow me to the capital, General Li. Me too. Me too. Qiu Shuang suddenly thought of her younger brother. She turned to look at Xiao Nan, who was still scared. You stay here. I'm afraid the capital will be very dangerous. Xiao Nan almost burst into tears. So his sister still cared about him. Thank you, royal sister. I'll stay here. Xiao Nan did not want to go to the capital to suffer. Right now, the capital was definitely in turmoil and danger. Then let the few of us go. It's better for royal brother to stay here. The second prince instructed. After all, Xiao Nan was a burden. It did not matter whether he went or not. It was better if he did not go. Generally, please take care of my sister. The second prince clapped his hands, and a crane flew over. It flapped its wings and landed in front of them. The two of you can ride on this crane. We'll reach the capital in about 4 hours. Li Fan carried the little princess and rode on the immortal crane. The immortal crane let out a cry and flew up with its other companions, flying in the direction of the imperial capital. Staying in Li Fan's arms, the little princess was very comfortable. It was as if this was the happiest moment of her life. Husband. The way the little princess called Li Fan had changed. That, Your Highness, we're not married yet. It's not good to call you that. Li Fan was a little embarrassed. Anyway, the little princess blushed and said, I've already said that on the city wall. Don't you want me? That's not it. Li Fan didn't know what to say. Since the little princess had already said that to him, could he still refuse? Also, husband, you have to be careful of my second brother. The little princess suddenly lowered her voice and said to Li Fan, he didn't come to save you with good intentions. Since royal father is missing, the palace has been sealed. The one in charge of guarding the palace is the #1 expert of the royal family, Huang Taiji. He is guarding the palace. No matter if it's big brother or second brother, they can't do anything. So that's the case. But is it really good for you to betray your second brother? It was said that women were extroverted. Li Fan said that this was too fast. Since you're my husband, then my heart will naturally be on my husband's side. Xiao Shuang argued, what? Could it be that husband doesn't like this? Good, of course it's good. With you at home, I won't be afraid of being taken advantage of. What else could Li Fan say? He could only coax the little princess. When it was time for them to get married, he would think of a way to get it over with. The rainbow crane screeched. It seemed like they were nearing the capital. Chapter 1738. They had already arrived in the sky above the imperial capital. This was the imperial capital after all. The scale of this place was completely different from that of an ordinary vassal city. The entire imperial capital was made up of huge buildings, one after another, neatly arranged. At the center of the city was the imperial palace, with green tiles and red walls. The top of each building was carved with a divine dragon. The most eye-catching thing was a huge pagoda. The pagoda seemed to contain a terrifying creature. Li Fan could feel the terrifying aura emanating from it. These cranes also stopped moving forward, only lingering around palace. Why aren't you going in? Li Fan subconsciously asked. The princess hurriedly covered Li Fan's mouth, then whispered in his ear. Don't say it. This is a secret of the imperial family. There is a terrifying magical beast locked in the palace. Magical beast? What the hell is that? Li Fan did not understand, but Xiao Shuang was very patient. She stuck close to Li Fan's ear and explained. It's called a magical beast. In fact, when we first arrived here, we encountered a powerful existence that descended from another plane. According to him, he is a realm king. Realm king? What was that again? The more Li Fan listened, the more confused he became. The princess indeed treated Li Fan as one of her own. She continued to whisper in his ear. That soft voice massaged Li Fan's ear. It was very comfortable. According to the records of our imperial family, it is said that in another plane, there is a huge ring-shaped world. That world is divided into 6 layers. The core is called the Hidden Land Realm. The second is called the Living Realm. The third is called the Spiritual Movement Realm. Then the fourth is the Great Wasteland Realm. The fifth is the Myriad Realm. And the highest, outermost, is the Heaven Realm. Ah, that is really a magical place. Li Fan listened to it with some yearning. A huge ring-shaped world? I heard that humans live in the living realm. It is a place with thin spiritual power and belongs to a low-level world. The spiritual movement realm is a place where some experts exist. The Great Wasteland Realm is the place where immortals and demons live. Speaking of which, primitive divine clans like us should live in the Great Wasteland Realm or the Myriad Realm. That kind of place sounded very interesting. In this ring-shaped world, every level has a powerful sector lord protecting it. I heard that this magical beast is the twin gold-silver Lion King from the Great Wasteland domain. Ah, I really want to go and see. Li Fan was in midair when he sensed the extraordinary aura coming from the pagoda. Li Fan couldn't help but take a peek at this powerful force. Back then, it took 8 elders working together to subdue him. After so many years, he has been imprisoned in this tower as the guardian of our royal family. As long as it's here, no spirit beast will dare to come close. That way, we can put an end to the cavalry's tricks. Li Fan was suddenly enlightened. Twin gold and silver Lion Kings. I really want to go in and take a look. A terrifying existence that even 8 celestial immortals had to work together to subdue. What kind of power did it have? Wait a minute, we're about to land. The second prince ordered, and the red-crowned crane slowly landed outside the palace. Speaking of which, why did the old emperor suddenly disappear? Li Fan took the opportunity to ask Xiao Shuang. Breaking the secret of the royal family was still very tempting. Father, he still can't let go of that woman. Xiao Shuang sighed. her feelings were somewhat complicated. When he first came to the human world, Father met a human dragon girl and fell in love with her. But then, the celestial race started a war with the humans, and both sides were destined to have a bad ending. Father was besieged by experts in the human world and almost died. Then, in order to save him, the dragon girl willingly sacrificed herself, exhausted her life, and brought Father back from the void. Li Fan was dumbfounded. What the hell? What was going on? So this old emperor of the realm beyond Avalon was actually a lover? So he was like him, a dragon knight. Although dragons were lustful by nature, who would have thought that there would be a dragon girl who was willing to die for the man she loved? For so many years, Father could not forget about her. Until today, perhaps Father could not bear it anymore. He was about to enter his next hibernation, but when he woke up, he did not know what would happen. Father might have thought that even if he was to sleep, he would sleep beside her. To be honest, I am a little surprised. Yes, after all, it was such a big matter. Other than the royal family, even the Elders' Council did not know about it. The royal family was also unwilling to acknowledge the existence of the dragon girl. This was a kind of humiliation. The little princess sighed. I understand Father quite well. Let him be. To go to the ends of the earth for love. But to let his own country become like this, was it really okay to do so? The second prince and the others had already landed in front of the palace gate. At this moment, there was a group of people guarding outside the gate. These people were all wearing golden armor, holding divine weapons in their hands, and looked majestic. There were at least 100 people, and they were clustered around a strong and handsome man. This man was also wearing golden armor, but it was obviously much more luxurious. He had a crown on his head, and on his feet were cloud-soaring boots. He was as majestic as one could imagine. This guy was none other than the eldest prince, Chiyoyu. I did not expect brother to be waiting for me here. I am really touched. The second prince was dressed in a suave white robe, and he welcomed him with a smile. Oomph, you still have the cheek to come. The eldest prince turned around, but his gaze swept past the second prince, and he stared straight at Li Fan. General of treason, are you here to die? With that, the 100 golden-armored warriors roared in unison, and they drew their swords, pointing them at Li Fan. The little princess was unhappy. She took a step forward and stood in front of her husband. Brother, he is my husband now. I will not allow you to use force on him. Li Fan stretched out his hand and took a step forward. At the same time, he blocked the princess behind him. Your Royal Highness, a straightforward person will not resort to insinuations. I will not allow you to betray the third princess' lifelong happiness in order to fight for the throne. Still talking nonsense. The eldest prince was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. You have no right to speak. Die here. The eldest prince roared, but the second prince waved his fan and stood between him and Li Fan. Brother, don't be too ugly. I can only say that you have bad taste, and you have chosen the wrong person. How can that good-for-nothing Prince Chong compare to General Li? Since when is it your turn to teach me? The eldest prince glared at him, but the second prince was all smiles. He did not fall for the eldest prince's trick. Brothers, let's not argue now. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the side. Li Fan turned around and saw the eldest princess, Chiyoya, leading her sister, Lan, and the beautiful Prince Yu. They were walking slowly from the side. The three women looked at him with complicated gazes. Chapter 1739. Especially the Grand Princess. She looked at him with a complicated gaze. She probably never thought that she would send Li Fan to her sister for the sake of benefits. This time, she had completely sent Li Fan away. The third princess, Chiyo Shuang, leaned into Li Fan's embrace. For some reason, Chiyo was actually a little jealous. Greetings to the Grand Princess, the second princess, and Lord King Yu. Li Fan, on the other hand, bowed to the three of them generously. I haven't seen you for 2 months, and you've changed so much. Chiyo looked at Li Fan, and her voice was filled with mockery. You become stupid. You actually want to marry Chiyo Shuang. Lan crossed her arms and interrupted. What's so good about this girl? Her chest isn't even as big as mine. Why would I want to marry her? The scene was slightly awkward. Qiuyu was defeated by her sister's intelligence. Qiu Shuang unhappily puffed out her chest. General Li, I gave you the cinnabar wildfire to protect the Grand Princess. Fortunately, the beautiful queen Yu was quick-witted. She quickly spoke and changed the topic. But now that you betrayed the Grand Princess and joined the third princess, can you return this cinnabar wildfire to me? Sure. Li Fan did not mind. Although this spear had followed him for a long time, it was after all not his. Li Fan had never cared about worldly possessions. But unexpectedly, when Li Fan handed the cinnabar great spear to Queen Yu, the great spear trembled in her hands. Finally, it broke free from her hands and flew back to Li Fan. With a thud, it stabbed into his feet. Li Fan was stunned. What did this mean? The beautiful Queen Yu was a little angry and stomped her feet. Since it has chosen its master, then let it be. Li Fan was a little surprised that the divine armament chose its master. He did not expect that the divine weapon cared about him so much. Since that's the case, you can stay by my side. Li Fan held the warm spear again. He could feel the scarlet spear trembling slightly, as though it was responding to him. Okay, I won't leave you again. It's just a spear, yet it's so clingy. Qiu Shuang pouted as if she was jealous of the spear. Li Fan was a little speechless. This girl, she was even jealous of a gun. This vinegar jar was overturned too quickly. If she really followed him to Earth, perhaps the vinegar jar would be smashed to pieces. Let's not argue anymore. Currently, General Li is my man. Imperial brother, please give me some face. The second prince waved his fan with a smile on his face. This time, he was the fisherman who reaped the benefits, so he was naturally happy. This matter is not over. The eldest prince knew that this was not the time to collect debts. He had more important things to do. Let's all rely on our own abilities. Let's enter the palace. The second prince stood in front of the palace gates and looked at them. The two scarlet gates were each 10 meters tall. There were copper nails embedded on them, and a bronze ring with a lion's head hung on it. No one entered because there was a 5-meter-tall giant standing in front of the gates. This giant wore silver-white armor and held a crescent moon blade in his hand. The handle of the blade was on the ground, as though it was there. It was this one brother who stood there, blocking everyone's way. General, I am the eldest prince, the legitimate heir to the throne. The eldest prince walked forward and said to this man, Your Majesty, please leave for now. No one is allowed to enter the palace. This giant was Huang Taiji. When he spoke, his voice exuded some sort of power that made people tremble uncontrollably. My goodness, this person is very strong. The top expert of the royal family, Huang Taiji, according to the third princess, he was the protector of the entire royal family and even the entire imperial capital. He was also the strongest man other than the 8 sky immortals. Li Fan was a little itchy and wanted to have a go with him. Pui was a fight. I'm the eldest prince. Father is not here, so I should be the one overseeing the palace. The eldest prince continued to shout, but Huang Taiji closed his eyes and ignored him. The second prince chuckled. Brother, you know the rules. Isn't it a bit embarrassing to be making such a big fuss? Do I need you to teach me what to do? Yeah, you did a really good job. The second prince put down his fan and took a step forward. He cupped his hands towards Huang Taiji. General, I am here to challenge the palace gates. All right, Huang Taiji finally opened his eyes. As a member of the royal family, if you can defeat me, then you are qualified to enter the palace. According to the rules, I can ask for help, right? The second prince was not in a hurry and continued to speak. Of course, a true emperor will naturally have thousands of talents to assist him. Huang Taiji did not object. No matter how many experts you bring, come at me. As he spoke, he lifted the crescent moon blade and swung it horizontally. A huge gust of wind and waves instantly struck everyone. The first prince and the second prince both took a step back, while the guard around them were all blown away, falling from side to side. Li Fan's eyes lit up. Good, beautiful strength. The only ones who did not move were Li Fan and a black armor guard beside the eldest prince. The two of them noticed each other and looked at each other silently. They saw the threat in each other's eyes. It seemed that they were the real enemies. Not bad. Seeing that there were two people who could stand firm, Huang Taiji seemed a little excited. He raised his thick eyebrows and raised his crescent moon blade. His voice was like spring thunder as he scolded them. Come, challengers, step forward. An empty space had been swept in front of him. Only Li Fan and the black-armored man were standing there. Since that's the case, let's fight. Now that things had come to this, the eldest prince had no other choice but to fight. He waved his hand, and the hundreds of golden-armored guards behind him immediately rushed forward and pounced at Huang Taiji. These people were all experts. After all, they were the eldest prince's personal guards, so they were definitely not weak. However, when these people pounced in front of Huang Taiji, they were no match for him. Huang Taiji only waved his crescent moon blade, and the huge force sent the people surrounding him flying. Weak, too weak. Send some experts. Huang Taiji's voice was like rolling thunder, shaking the palace. Huang Taiji, General Huang, let me fight you. The eldest prince grabbed a large sword and released his magical body, turning into a 4-meter-tall giant. He grabbed a large sword that had also turned into a 4-meter-long sword and jumped toward Huang Taiji. Clang! Huang Taiji raised his large blade and deflected the eldest prince's sword. Then, he raised his leg and kicked the eldest prince away. The eldest prince's body flew more than 5 meters away. He stabbed the large sword into the ground and stabilized himself. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.